Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, go by just Jeremy on Discord.
This is Aaron, I go by Mr. 49% on Discord.
Aaron, I told you it's 51%.
Not yet.
Yeah, not today.
Reasonable people disagree. It's 49.
I love making inside jokes to an audience. It's great. It's probably the best media for any joke ever.
I listened to the last podcast. I understand what the joke is. I was here.
Did we say that? I thought
You
we said that in the
did.
car.
Nope, you absolutely did.
Oh, okay.
You did.
I mean, the last 3 days.
You actually. I could see how everything you did over this weekend completely erased everything you talked about right before.
I'm pretty sure I slept for a grand total of 5 hours from Tuesday to Sunday.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I could see how that is all a blur. But no, your last cast, you told several jokes about it. It was good.
Okay.
It was good content.
All right. So anyway, quick announcements. Parker, you are at 3,098 probationary episodes.
Wait, why'd it go up?
Which one? Oh, no, yeah, sorry.
Because it was 3,097 before, right?
96, fine. I tried to get him with an extra
Thank
couple,
you. I appreciate that.
He's hip to the wise. All right. So, I don't know when we should do this. I guess we'll go and do it now. So, for people that are new listeners that don't understand this, back in the day, their original podcast, before Aaron even joined, we had... Parker would do bad things, basically be a bad person in general ways, mostly missing podcasts. And so it would leave just me and Jeremy alone to record. And so we would give him probationary episodes. So he had to, basically until he worked off the debt, we got to be mean to him. And so now you're wondering why we're mean to Parker. It's because he's earned this. We don't want to do this. He's really just asking us to.
We've basically codified karma, and the number is 3,000-ish.
Yeah.
But when...
So you might be thinking, well, guys, you've only have 162 episodes. How is it even possible that he's accrued 3,096? Well, the answer is we allowed, because we're Americans, we decided to implement debt. And so
I don't think
Parker
it's an American invention at all.
Parker's borrowed against his future to try and dig himself out of this hole. And things have... not gone well for Parker.
You could say spiraled out of control is the correct term.
Yeah. So now, in addition to being an absentee person, he is also a bad gambler. So, but because of this, he's learned a valuable life lesson. He will never gamble in real life.
Yes, I don't. I went to Vegas with all of you, and I found I found $80 in my bag that I didn't know was there, and that's what I was allowed myself to bet with. I didn't bring anything.
Yeah, so that's what the probationary episode's for. So now we use them as a kind of currency, but it's mostly just because Parker has created this horrible system of debt that we'll never get out of. I think we will put a cap on it. I think if we'll get somewhere, and we're like, this is it. Like, Parker shaves his head and we get rid of all the episodes.
Ooh.
That first part's very key, though.
Interesting. Like, I could remove them all?
Yeah.
So in this fictitious, hypothetical universe... You're saying if I shaved my head, I would have respect again? Is that something that would happen?
No.
Let's not go that far.
Okay.
But we wouldn't be quite as mean to you.
You'd be even in some sort of just manner, but no sort of respect.
It's kind of like those people that's like you play a video game with them and they show up with like all the best gear and you're like, well, how did he get all that? And he's like, oh, he bought it. And you're like, I don't really respect him, but like, I guess he wins, so that's fine. He's like, that shaving your head's the equivalent of pay to win.
Okay. I pay with my dignity.
I'm actually curious, does anyone know this statistic? How many human hairs there are per square inch?
I mean, hairs differ, right? Which head are we talking about?
Right, was there like a general like average or something? I wonder if like we could just like I get to shave a percentage of your scalp based on the number of episodes you have, and it's up to you if you shave the rest of it.
The average hair density is between 100 to 200 hairs per square inch. However, I think that's across the entire human body, and I'm sure it's It might be different on the head as opposed to the rest of you.
Yeah, try scalp.
Yeah.
Because based on that, that's like 12 or 15 square inches of your head.
Yeah, the average... Yeah, this is of scalp. Average hair density is 100 to 200 hairs per square inch. A person with a high density hair might have as much as 300 to 400, but somebody with low density would have, as little as 50 to 100.
Interesting.
On average, humans typically have
now we're getting
80,000 to 120,000.
Yeah, now we're really drilling down deep on this. I like that.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Basically, I get to shave a 10 by 2 square inch patch of your scalp, and then we can call it even, and then you can just do whatever you want with that. You just leave the back of your head wide open.
You're right. I would do whatever I want with that. That's right.
I'll just give you a landing strip right down the top. You have a reverse mohawk.
Right.
What could go wrong? Everyone would respect you at that point.
Finally.
Finally someone respects you.
After all this time.
I think John has officially quit as your accountant.
Oh, I don't think he ever agreed to the job. He really wanted to.
He wanted to help, and then the first thing you did without his advice, he was like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
You can't help this person.
Mm-hmm. I walked directly away from his advice, proudly.
Yeah. Okay. So, getting along with our announcements, we have, as always, our Patreon link in the show notes. We also have some WTC episodes that are currently only available on Patreon. And then we've got our partners, Muse on Minis and Baron of Dice. You can get some of our sponsored products through those vendors. And
they're flipping sweet. Those dice are awesome.
That brings us to the next segment.
We got news.
News?
News!
Hey, news! Yes. News!
All right, so the news is not my news. It's really your guys' news. Infamous went to WTC along with a couple other fantastic folks who decided to join U3. And so, as part of this news today, or rather rather than break down absolutely everything that went on for you guys, we have some listener questions that were sent in for you. And on behalf of the listeners, I'm going to ask.
Actually, we're going to do the listener questions after we do our breakdown on the event.
Okay, so you guys get to break it down a little bit. Okay, first question, break down the event. Go.
Yeah. So we're going to start. We're going to go in order of the rounds. We're just going to give a quick synopsis of who we played, what they played, and our matchups, but we're not going to go deep into the detail. I don't know if we'll do a full battle report breakdown or not, but I doubt it. If people want that, I don't know, they can ask us directly or post that they want us to do it. So starting off first round, we pulled one of the Italian teams.
Bunga Bunga Boys.
Bunga Bunga Boys. They were pretty cool. We strangely got repaired 3 times, and got paired into them all 3 times, so it was kind of meant to be, I guess. I don't know how much the rounds actually changed, but we did have to repair. Unfortunately, there was severe weather happening right before the event, and so a lot of flights got canceled. I believe there was a total of 7 players that ended up not making the initial round, and there was 5 players that didn't make the event at all. So what they decided to do, because one of the teams had to bow out, and there was a UN team that was formed, it was like just a bye-playing team. We broke them up and put them on the 5 teams that were missing a player. And then in the first round, the 2 teams of 4 played each other. And that way we had everyone got to actually play, which was great. All right, so the Unga Bunga Boys and us. My opponent in that round was their Midnight Suns player. I'm just pulling up the match here so I can tell you his online name. It's Viruz, I think is how you say it. Viruz. Yeah, he was playing Midnight Suns. We played on Researcher and Infinity Formulas. I think the game went about as expected. He tried to go in on the full-on aggro plan to basically table me.
You playing Webs?
Yeah, I was playing Webs. He had a lot of bad luck on his end, mostly through early dice rolls. Black Hat kind of just took over the game pretty instantly. I played No Matter the Cost on turn 1 to stagger Hulk, and he was never able to score the Researcher. primarily due to the fact that I had 2 webline models, and so he was just never able to get a foothold. He played Ronin to try and get like a pushing and throwing model, but it just never was enough, and so I scored it out pretty easily, 19-3. But definitely could have gone better for him if aggro goes a little bit better. But that was my round 1.
Okay, so my round 1, I ended up playing Aldo, who was their team captain, I believe. And he was playing... So we decided that one of my bad matchups was... what was he playing? I'm sorry. I'm blanking out.
He was playing Wakanda.
Wakanda, yeah. One of my bad matchups is Wakanda. All the rerolls and stuff. And of course, he's playing Wakanda. And he had a drop in there, which I didn't notice when we started playing until he did it, which was Thor. So he had Spirit of Wakanda. He dropped that. There was a size 5 building across from me as well, right on the edge of his deployment. So he had Thor, Killmonger, Panther, Shuri. I had CGR. I think it was CGR, Malekith, and Mystique, I believe. We're playing across the middle, but the whole thing was based around the fact that Thor, because of Spirit of Wakanda, had 4 power. And he could essentially charge me, stagger me, all kinds of crazy shit, throw a building into me. So he had priority and he had more models than me. So at the end of the day, I was going to have to go, and then he was going to be able to activate Thor and do whatever he wanted. First turn, we didn't score. The second turn, dove in. I didn't do anything to Thor, bounced off of him because of all of his rerolls, and then he started murdering things. At the very end of the game, the point discrepancy is there because that's how these games work. Nobody scores until all of a sudden he just starts scoring like crazy or the game is over. I think it was Thor on injured side was left, and that is the only model that was left alive. He ended up, I believe, killing Malekith, and he ended up taking that game. It was a really, really tight game. I believe it ended on like turn 6. I wouldn't have played it any differently. Played really good. It was a really good, fun game. Very tight. He had tons of rerolls. I killed Killmonger on turn 2, top of 2. Killed him really fast. Again, Thor did his thing. Was a really cool counter for big guys, and it was really cool inside of Wakanda. So kudos on them for finding that little thing. That was cool.
Okay, my round 1, I drew their UN player because they were down a person. I got Stuart from England playing Kingpin. I'm playing Sam Wilson in Avengers. We drew Spider-Infected Scoundrels at 20, and he played the I'm going to sit on all your points game, and I played the what if I got to push you off of all of these points game. I won the game. Mainly because all of my triggers managed to be successful, and by all I mean most of them. I don't think every trigger worked, but Iron Man didn't miss his wilds, and Sam didn't fail to do damage into like Widow, outside of 2 within 3. So I ended up having like both his Ulik and Widow on the side of the board edge after he was on my back scoundrel, turn 2. So, but just pushed him off all the points and managed to win the game pretty easily, 20-10.
Nice. So this was one of the 5 teams that had a substitute player. So they actually ended up with 2 criminal players, which was kind of an issue for us, I think, because I don't think we stacked up very well against criminals at all.
No, we had 2 drops in the criminals. It was Jeremy and Spellshock.
Yeah, so we pretty much just had to eat a bad matchup on one of our players. But yeah.
So talking about the other 2 games real quick. Spellshock won his game, Immortal Hulk into CGR, Guardians. And Perrin won his game, the matchup Storm versus Storm. So
nice.
We ended up taking the first round down 4-1.
Yep. All right, moving on to round 2. Anyone who's been following along, this was the moment you were all waiting for. The only people that could defeat England Lions, Team Infamous.
Yeah. Oh my.
So let's see. I got put into Criminals, which I had rated as a not great matchup, but a playable one. I expected it to be a very close game. I played against Darren. Darren was a great opponent. We had a really good game. A lot of tight playing. I don't think he was ready for Peter 1. Normally, when criminals win prio versus on an odd-numbered extract, it usually goes very well for them. I actually ended up scoring on turn 1 by 6-3, and we were playing Riots and Cubes. So yeah, I think in hindsight, he thought I was playing a different style of web list, and so mine was pretty effective versus him. There was one moment in the game, though, I actually felt really bad for him. I had a clump of 3 models on the left extremist, and I had just moved one of them away because they had been damaged. I didn't want to risk them getting killed by M'Baku. And he activates Rhino in the middle of the board, does all this stuff, slides over right next to the piece of terrain on the left side, and plays Robbery. And because I had set up to play Mission Objective over there with Cat, I didn't think there was any chance he would do that, so it just completely threw me, and I had this moment of absolute panic that I had fucked up my positioning, and I was out of range too. So I looked down, and it's really close. It's exactly 2. And so I grabbed my 2-stick, and I leaned over the table, and I'm looking at my hands shaking. I'm like, did I just lose this game because I fucked up? And it look at it, and then the more I look at it, I was I'm very confident it's in 2. And I look up, and he's just got this dead look on his face. I'm like, oh no, he forgot. And it's just are you okay with this? And he's like, I committed to it. It's my bad. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, I almost was please take this back. Don't do that. But he was very confident. He had committed to it, and it was in play. So I played Mission Objective. That was the only part of our game where I felt like one of us really messed up. Other than that, it was a lot of we both knew what was coming every single activation. But it was a really good game. Darren was a great opponent. I ended up winning 17-15.
Great show.
I played Rich. He was playing a big guy
Rich
list.
Mid.
Yeah, Rich. He is an internet famous guy. I had no idea, but he has quite a YouTube channel and quite a following, which I pulled up recently and was watching a bit of it. Pretty cool guy. He played a very good game of big guy versus big guy action. Hot big guy action. We just basically exchanged haymakers back and forth. The game was so tight that both of us kind of slowed down to a crawl, watching the.
That's what she said.
Yeah, watching Aaron and Pat's game, and to see if our game was going to matter at all.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah.
He actually said out loud, when I was there when he said it, that he was intentionally slow playing to wait and see if Pat won.
Yes.
So that way he could make a decision that with a lot less stress.
Yeah.
Because he had 28 minutes left, and you guys were on the last 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And he's like, I would much rather know if we have the round before I make this decision.
Yeah. He was definitely getting nervous. He was not prepared for to actually play a game. And that's what was interesting is I think all the CDR players were not ready to play a game. Unlike me, who I was always ready to play a game, I was kind of okay, let's do this. I think CGR players are generally I'm just going to smash you. Where I'm I don't really want to play CGR. I don't really want to do that. But anyway, we played our game. Like all the other games, it came down to last model swinging the last attack, and his CGR ended up killing 2 models and ended up taking the game. If one of those models had missed, I would have killed CGR and I would have taken the game, it is what it is. So he got that win on me.
For people keeping track at home, this is Jeremy's 2nd game on Researcher.
Yeah. Yay.
And that game was still close. You ended up losing 11-10 with the tabling. So, Aaron, how did your game go?
So to set it up a little bit, the night before, I sent my second over to Pat to issue a challenge for the following day should we beat in combat.
Is that me?
Yeah, that was you.
Okay. Nobody told me that. I was just chatting with him. I was like, hey, just so you know, Aaron's going to challenge you tomorrow. And he's like, oh, all right.
You failed. Okay. So anyway, he
Should I have slapped him with a glove? Like, that would have been really awkward.
you absolutely were supposed to smack him with a glove. He's English.
Oh,
Do it.
that's
He wouldn't
fair.
known what that meant.
I expect.
Yeah, so he throws himself down in the pairing process, and we countered with Perrin and myself. I felt for sure he was going to take Perrin. He did not. He chose me. So I ended up playing into Pat. I screwed up. So first of all, because Gil makes bad choices in life, everyone at the tournament was allowed to play on all four sides of the playmat. But
Yeah.
you were not allowed to turn the playmat. So if you wanted to play
Mhm.
sideways, you played fucking sideways. You didn't turn the mat. So I said, he won prio, and I was like, great, we're playing left to right. The reason I did that is because I thought there was a building that was going to completely block his deployment line because we were playing Cubes Gamma. And it was like straight down the middle that he couldn't just walk up to the Gamma on. Turns out my parallax was a little off when we actually put down the tokens. And it did not screw his deployment up nearly as much as I thought it was going to. Or rather, his turn one. But it was the first game I've ever actually played sideways of MCP.
Would recommend?
No, would not recommend.
That's what I expected.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, not would bang.
So, I recommend tournament organizers limit it to north-south, especially if they're not going to let you turn the mats. It just makes a lot more easy play. It makes it easier to set up when you're designing a mat, if you will. If all of a sudden you turn something 90 degrees that you weren't expecting, you've got huge buildings where you might not want them for the ease of play, etc., etc. Anyway.
Totally agree. I just want to say also, whoever gets the tables on the ends, super unfair advantage, because you basically get to sit at the end of a table, and your opponent has to lean over, and you're just sitting there in the normal deployment area. Your opponent's like climbing over shit to try and get to their stuff. It was super not cool. They should not allow that again. That was really dumb.
Yep. So he was playing Inhuman. I was playing Sam Bengers. I made two mistakes in this game. The first one is he went first. He picked up the middle with eyes with Crystal. And in my mind, she was the potential to pick up my back cube. So since she'd already gone with her, picked up the middle and retreated, I picked up my back right. Then he picked up my back left with Toad. And I was just an idiot. I should have picked up my back left first because he didn't have anyone who could pick up my back right. So he goes up 4-1 on cubes. And I do the only thing you can do when you realize you're in a bad situation turn one, which is you throw everything at him, right? Like, I can't just let him sit there and score 4-1 on extracts all game. So I've got like everyone ready to go, clumped up near the center gamma. But because I win the gamma, I'm only down 5-3. Turn two, he smashes a car with Dynamo and beams my team. Most of them, anyway. Luke taunts, and Dynamo says, "Oh, you think you're tough, huh?" And he just one-shots Cage. So, turn two, I'm down Cage, and most of my army is on half health and shocked. Not good, right? Long story short, I end up losing round 2, 5-2. I'm down 10-5 after 2. However, this is the one bright side to giving him 4 cubes. And gamma, right? So he has taken a shit ton of damage. Not from me, because I can't do shit, because Dynamo's field disrupting left and right. But from the scenario. Also, Black Bolt, since Toad got my cube, Black Bolt had to go out to get his cube. So he wasn't able to contribute in an attrition style, probably like you would want. So other than the one lucky shot into Cage, that's really all that had happened. And I've got my entire team, most of it, on his back gamma by the end of turn 3. So turn 2, I'm down 10-5. Turn 3, I just unleash Havoc. He goes with Bolt and kills Sam. Sorry, dazes Sam. I then go and kill Marvel, kill Toad, leave Dynamo on 2, and capture his back gamma. And I throw Black Bolt. Before any of this happened, I threw Black Bolt off of the point and into a car. And that is my second game-losing mistake. However, I scored 6-2 to take it 12-11 for him. We're going into round 4. He has 0 extracts because they pop off of Black Bolt and Crystal in the cleanup phase. I have the other extracts and the back and middle gamma. Actually, all 3 gamma. I had miscalculated based off of gamma and cube damage how much Black Bolt was going to take. I thought he was going to take 1 damage because I can't count, and instead he took 2. What I wanted was to go first with Bird of Prey with Sam, kill Black Bolt, end up on my back point. And at that point, he has practically no one that can damage my 3 very full healthy models of Dynamo, Bill, and Cage on his home gamma. I think it's probably 95-ish% to win that game. I don't know how he comes back from that without Black Bolt's activation. As it was, Black Bolt starts the turn fully healthy. I decide a Bird of Prey isn't going to kill a 9 health Black Bolt, so I just pick up the objective he had dropped and run to my back gamma. He then proceeds to whisper the 3 people on his gamma, killing Dynamo and putting significant amounts of damage and staggering both Cage and Beta Ray Bill. I still have an out, though. I have Iron Man on the center gamma. I need to do 2 damage to Crimson Dynamo, and then Helios Marvel. And at that point, I still have 2 models in his back gamma, and he only has Toad and Crystal to go. And I'm in a relatively commanding position, even with the screw-up on Black Bolt. So at this point, we both got like 25 minutes on our clock. And if you know me, you know I kind of like to keep it loose at the tournament. There are a lot of people at any tournament you go to, they're really tight and anxious. It's not how I like to play. So I put a movement tool next to Iron Man, and I said, "Do you mind if I pick this model up?" And he was like, "Go ahead." I was like, "Okay." So I had a conversation with Iron Man. And if you've ever seen like a schizophrenic grown man pick up their little painted toy and start talking to it and have it whisper in their ear, then that's exactly what I did. I put Iron Man back on the table, and I rolled my dice for my Friday AI Repulsor Blast to kill Dynamo. I did 3. He didn't block any, so I'm doing the 2 I need through DR, but he's got Disruption Field. So I reroll 2 hits into 2 hits. So I take Dynamo down, and Pat's like, "Oh shit, guess that little pep talk worked." I'm like, "Yeah, it's got to get in tune with your models." So now all I have to do to win the game is Helios Marvel. So I put everything but 3 into it, just so that the 2 models that are low on health on his gamma can live, with Bill having some power to DR and Cage. Do 13 dice, and I rolled 4 hits. I did 3 damage to Marvel. Marvel lives. Marvel is then able to walk forward, throw Iron Man off a point, score in the middle. I have an out at the end of the game. It just doesn't come to fruition. No one cares what exactly it was. I end up losing 16-15. And as soon as I walked away from the game, I knew I'd made 2 huge mistakes. 1, the deployment. I just couldn't get over that. But 2, it was all about the Helios, right? Because in the moment, I'm like, I rolled a Helios. It's like 80% to win the game just by killing Marvel. And I failed. What my real takeaway, though, was the Black Bolt play. If I throw a Black Bolt not into the car, I think I take my 80%, or that Helios should have been, to like 95, maybe even higher than that. So my initial reaction was, dice screwed me. Not that I wasn't like super salty and pissed about it. I was just like, well, I had this super great play, high percentage, should have happened, didn't, whatever. When I should have been, it took me about 30, 45 minutes to kind of realize, you know what? Yes, I did get, quote unquote, screwed by the dice in a high percentage play, but I had a better play that I just didn't make. Because I couldn't count.
And I know you talked about the Red Wing assault play into Black Bolt. Would it not have been also possible to just do to activate Bill and throw him into something, like to auto kill him?
When on turn 4, the last round?
Yeah, on the theoretical, like he lives with 1 health through the cleanup phase.
I could have done multiple things, but Bill was on his back gamma with. Yes, I would have chosen the 7 dice full rerolls, whether that's right or wrong.
Okay. Oh, because you were going to play Bird of Prey, right.
Yeah, it was full reroll, so I wasn't worried about that. I think I would have had to shield throw based on power status. Mm-hmm. So it would have been 7 dice full reroll. And I don't know what the odds are to do 1 damage to Black Bolt, but I'm assuming it's pretty high.
Yep. So in the rest of the matchups here, we had Perrin into Joe Hainstock, if I'm saying that right, who played another X-Men mirror. This time he lost Prio and lost the game. Then finally we had Aaron England into AJ Backhouse, and he lost to what appears to be either a tabling or a very low-scoring game.
It was not a table.
Okay, so 9-4. They played Researcher, though, so I guess that kind of makes sense if they're just fighting over it all game. But yep, so that means we lost this round 1-4. A lot of good games, though.
It was also unique that they had a replacement player.
Yes.
There were 2 Inhumans teams.
Yeah, 2 Inhumans teams.
And the tournament organizers changed the second Inhuman players team, forced them to remove CGR, so that this team did not have 2 Inhumans CGR teams after the backdraft of a few coaches.
Yeah. I wasn't going to talk about that too much, but if you want to, you can.
I just mentioned it.
Okay. I'll rant about that on another forum.
Sure.
All right. So that's going to move us into the third round. In the third round, we play the Swedish Sweemen from Sweden. There it is. Alrighty. I think this was overall my favorite team we played, as far as like just meeting all 5 of them and hanging out a little bit after the games.
They tried to poison us.
They did try and poison us. I knew this trap because of my previous experience at WTC. I was like, don't eat that. And Aaron's like, I'm just going to try it. He took a bite. He's like, oh my God. It just like went running for something to drink.
Yep.
I was like, I fucking told him it's a razor apple. They're just trying to poison us.
You mean spell shock? I wasn't that.
Yeah, not that, Aaron. It's spell shock. Yeah. So let's see. I played against their Wakandan player, Johan. We had an awesome game. We played Scoundrels Extremists, so there's 11 points on the board. We played a pretty tight game. I actually think I had pretty good dice in this game. And I did not have a lot of reps into Wakanda before the tournament. I think in hindsight, if I had more experience into the matchup, I could have A, played a little bit better, and B, known how bad it was for me, and I think I would have avoided the matchup. I got some good dice into his Black Cat, which allowed me to make scoring parity. Without that, I would have been down significant points, I think. Although in the final round, we were basically, let's see, what was the score? I was up, I want to say it was 9, I was up 12-9, I think. And in the final round, as I was expecting, a lot of stuff starts going his way because it's just too much time to do attrition work with all those rerolls and Wakanda Forever and all that stuff, and like Black Panther and M'Baku just doing whatever they want. So I was in the final couple activations, and Shuri does a spender into ASM. Hits the stagger through Witty Banter, which I was not very happy with, because it's a 7-die attack. He got the 1 wild, reroll it into a wild. And without that, I think I'm in a decent spot.
That's
but
painful.
It happens, obviously. So Peter has to web swing to attack Black Cat, who's at 1 health. If I deal the 1 damage, he drops the objective, I pick it up, and we tie at 15. I deal no damage, because that's how it happens when you roll 0 hits on 9 dice. Because it was all webbed up swing turn. So 9 dice into 3 defense dice, and I missed it. So he actually wins on board. If I don't move, I go down 14-15. We play another round. So I think the math supports my choice, but in hindsight, I regretted in the moment that I did it, because I probably should just stayed on the point. But because like anytime you say, well, there's a chance I lose the game, but like I'm in a much stronger position if I've got all the extracts and he's standing on the blues, especially with board control in play. And so, yeah, I kind of felt bad in the moment. The more I think about it, I think I made the right call. It's just a really close match. He played great. He was a great opponent. And he got me 16-14.
Kind of with you. It's one of my favorite teams. Bunch of really cool guys that we did have some fun times with, having discussions later after playing them. Anyway, I played against Matt, who I feel... I think when we were doing the matchups, it was said something along the lines of criminals, and I was like, cool, fine, whatever. And then when we drew the... when we did our setups and everything, I was like, okay, and show our cards. I'm like, motherfucker, that's cat dog. Don't fucking sneak that in there. So I played, it was 15. So here we go again. We played, it was 15 points. He played, it was not a traditional cat dog. It was dog, cat, and Ulik. So it was kind of a weird version, but it was just as strong, I promise you. Yeah. It's much faster, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's all up in your shit.
Yeah. And I played Malekith and other things, Mystique and I think it was Red Skull 2, maybe.
One.
Yeah. Red Skull. Was it Red Skull 1 on that game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't remember.
It shows you used Red Skull 1's leadership.
Gotcha. Oh, it was probably Ultron maybe in there. I don't remember.
I think it was Ultron, because I remember hearing you talk about the Ultron game after the third round.
So the whole thing in this one was, again, he kind of went left. I thought he was going to go right. So it became a weird scramble of picking up cubes and trying to avoid each other's Malekith, and who's going to hit hard with Malekith and who whiffed. But actually what started the whole ball rolling was, what kind of Ulik do we have today? So we had the super hitty Destroyer of Worlds. So it jumped over. I'm certain it dazed the first thing it hit, and then almost dazed the second thing it hit. Whatever. It did what it did. He picked up a bunch of stuff. I picked up a bunch of stuff. And it got down to the last model yet again. And I don't remember if you guys were seeing this game or not, but it was the last model versus last model. And he ended up getting it. That's all that really mattered.
Mm-hmm.
That's your second game that came down to basically last model versus last model?
Third.
Or third in a row. So 3
Yeah.
extremely tight games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, these first 3 games, I 100% was happy with every single thing that happened. It was just like any other big model versus big model kind of games. The first one was big model versus Thor, which was a weird matchup I'd never done before, but the rerolls kept it insane. The second one and third one was just straight up kaiju versus kaijus. And I wouldn't play them any different. They were fine.
Yeah, that's good. Final score in that one was 22-17.
When the
Jeremy
loot
successfully,
pinatas.
Jeremy successfully avoided the researcher for the first time.
I dodged it.
He hates those goddamn scientists. They keep fucking everything up. Aaron.
I played against Frederick Beckstrand, I think. A very, very good X-Men player from Sweden. Ended up on Spider Infected and Scoundrels. My 20-point list takes your standard Avengers, and for some WTC flair, I added the Blob. Let me say I am post WTC ecstatic with that addition to the team. I'll use this opportunity to give one example. Recap of the game. We basically tied the first 2 turns. He's doing X-Men things, and I'm doing pushing him off points and scoring them things. And we both execute that pretty well to a tie. And then, start about turn 3. It seems like this always happens with Avengers, the Sam version. Like, I finally have enough power to actually do all my shit. And I just went up, I don't remember the exact score, but I went up, I think he scored 0 on turn 3, actually. I think I just, I ended up like 15 to 9.
Yeah, there's 10 points available, so.
Yeah, so it wasn't 10-0, so something was either not contested, but it was a lot to a little. I think it was like 6-0, maybe 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think the end is, like I said, it was tied, and then it was like 15 to 9. And what enabled that was the Blob. Turn where he ends up thunderous splashing into Storm, who is on my back left Scoundrel, does 3 damage, pushes her and the other person of his on the point. I end up pushing her toward the middle where Logan was, doing another damage with the push, and then claiming the point for my own. Right? Good job, Blob. Then Voodoo goes and attacks Logan with Mystic, does damage. Mystic's rules cause Storm to take a damage. Storm's extract pops out. Voodoo pops it up. Voodoo takes it, rather, and then uses possession on one of his models just to make him drop it. So anyway, and Blob set all of that up. Got the point, pushed Storm to where Voodoo's attack on Logan would then daze her, and just the synergies involved with that particular play, I really highlight the ceiling Blob can have. Like, he can have some bad games too, right? But the ceiling for Blob as your 10th model in a list is so high. He straight up significantly contributed to winning that game just through that play.
I think it's pretty interesting that you decided to add a DR model with board disruption to your list. It's really it's innovative.
It is. Thank you. Yes. I am, Aaron, the innovator. Yes.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love Blob as your 10th character. I think He was really good, and I think a lot of people went with Deadpool, which was your initial thought process, but I think Blob had added more value than Deadpool did.
Yep. So
Deadpool is good.
Yeah. So we ended up splitting round 4 just because I made a bunch of super safe decisions and ended up with a 20-14 win.
All right. Last 2 games, we had Aaron England played Jacob, which is their Guardians player. Guardians player took it out 16-6. And lastly, we had Perrin versus Niklas, and he lost by 1 point, 15-16. Yeah, super fun games. We found out, I know for sure Frederick was a pretty enthusiastic listener. I don't know how many others of their team were. I think I heard one of them say he was. We also had a listener on England Lions, which I didn't know about. He might have been their fill-in guy, I'm not sure.
Maybe he's a Guernsey guy.
Maybe. I didn't meet any Guernsey people.
Oh, that was my first question for the podcast.
So we ended the game, or ended the day 1-2, which was a little disappointing, but considering the level of competition we played against, it's totally fine. All 3 teams we played could have done very well, and obviously Lions and Swedish Sweemen did do very well. So moving on to day 2.
I have one thing to add.
Go for it.
I suck at one thing in life in particular. Parker, you're never going to guess what it is.
Being humble.
I suck at 2 things in life.
Is it playing Mission Objective?
It is not playing Mission Objective.
I
directly contributed to us going 1-2 this day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm a little confused. Yes, you did lose.
Okay. We lost, and it was all my fault because at the beginning of this process, I rolled 5 dice and came up losing priority all 3 matches.
Yeah. So I guess people might not realize that we lost prio all 3 matches. So in addition to facing 2 extremely strong opponents, we lost prio all 3 rounds.
Which I think is a huge disadvantage. In fact, I do not like this pairing process from a competitive standpoint because through the numerous iterations that we ran, it was extremely advantageous to get prio during this process.
It's almost a 20% bump in like matchups based on if you break it down to numbers of like we're adding like numerical values to how good your matchups are. The numbers you can come out with is like a pretty substantial difference, and it's so much easier to avoid. The real thing it comes down to, without going too deep into it, is if you have 2 bad matchups on a team of 5, you're basically fucked. Unless you have prio, then they can hide you. Because on prio, the team A chooses the last 2 matchups, and so all they have to do is hold you to last, and they can guarantee that you don't get in that situation. And so it makes it much harder to target into things. They get to pick 3, you get to pick 2 is effectively what ends up happening. So it's very hard to go second when you've got multiple bad matchups. And in the first round, I'm honestly just impressed we won the first round because Criminals is one of our weaker affiliations. Randomly, their team got to have 2 criminal players. That's fucking insane. Like, it was like, in the moment, I was like, we're going to lose. Like, there's no way we beat this team with, like, the way the numbers look. And we just managed to pull out close games, and so it worked. And then against England Lions, they had double Inhumans, which we really hadn't practiced against yet because they had become good until a week before list lock. And it was just like, well, what the fuck we do now?
Now,
not
getting prio, you're supposed to have an advantage by picking tables. So one team gets to pick 3 matchups, the other team gets to pick 3 tables. And so Gil and his team went through on Friday, and they set up all the tables the way Gil wanted. But then 80 people show up Friday, and they play a bunch of casual games. They look at the tables, and they're like, what the fuck's up with this? So they rearranged all the tables. So Gil gets there on Saturday morning, and he's like, the stuff I put on this table is now spread out over these 3 tables. But he doesn't have time to fix them all. So we just play on what end up being relatively homogenous tables throughout the tournament.
Yeah, because they announced in advance that there was going to be huge disparity in the terrain on tables. He said some tables are going to have 3 size 4s. Some won't have anything over size 2. And so there's supposed to be like a wild west for tables. So like table selection was going to be really important. Because if you could trap like a Brotherhood player on the table with no size 3s or 4s, it's a totally different game.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not the case. The tables were fairly even.
Didn't mean anything almost at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
very
picking
little.
tables rarely meant anything other than like, oh, there's a size 5 building in this deployment zone. Like, so you're fucked. And it's like, that's the only time it mattered. There were a few tables that had like more size 4s. But yeah, I think that was one of the bigger flaws of the overall terrain deployment, is that they weren't advantaged to one side. If more of the tables had noticeable advantages, it might have been a little bit more even. But anyway, it's growing pains type stuff, because this isn't really the case for other games, like, because the terrain for Marvel is so specific. But yeah, anyway, so going into round 4, we pulled Cookie Monsters, the Dutch team. I will say that I absolutely demanded Aaron stop rolling priority. I don't know if that was mentioned at any point. And he said, but why? And I said, give me the fucking dice. To which I roll hit, wild, crit. And I said, we're going first, you fucking idiot. Anyway, so Cookies Monsters was one of the teams I don't think we matched up very well against as far as like just their pure lists. They had some really interesting lists on their team, and so I want to shout that out. They had some really cool combinations of lists. They had a lot of dual affiliated stuff that we were not really expecting. So my game, I played Spearpaw. His name was Sylvester. Very similar names. Sylvester. I was a little nervous. We pulled Gamba on Spider Infected, and he had Brotherhood and Cabal. He thought about which of the two affiliations play for a while, and I was also thinking about list construction for a while, so we probably spent 10 minutes just looking at our phones, which was kind of odd. But I ended up dropping my pretty standard 17 points, and he ended up dropping Malekith with Mystique, Toad, and Red Skull 2. So pretty much worst possible outcome for me on model drops. I do think he needed to play Brotherhood, though, which I think I'm stronger against just because of the terrain. The terrain on this table was very aggressive. It was a lot of big pieces right in the middle. And I think he missed out on that. He was so focused on the matchup, I don't think he worried about the terrain. And there's this really convenient kiosk in the middle of the table. And he didn't take Smash. He has no way to break it, except for Mystique, which isn't going to happen for a while. So my first activation with Prio, I double move Black Cat behind the kiosk and pick up the middle Spider Infected, in which he immediately goes to activate Mystique and like starts measuring stuff. And then he's like, wait a second, does Black Cat have wall crawler? And I happily say no. And so she can't walk over the kiosk. And she's in base-to-base contact with it. And he's like, measuring it out. He's like, I can't even get line of sight on her. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, bro. He's like, and so he doesn't even play Deception. Like, he saves it for 3 rounds because he can't get her out of this little tiny spot that she's in. And it's just like, oh man, that's so annoying. I was like, I'm sorry. That was so bad. Anyway, this game was super close. Lots of back and forth. Black Cat basically won the game for me, though, because she staggered like 5 times. And it was just like, he couldn't do anything about it. He correctly identified that he needed to kill Gwen, because on Gamma, I'm going to score a lot of points if he doesn't kill Gwen, and also Lifesaver's really strong against his low-range models. But he goes in as hard as he can. He hits me with, let's see, what was it? He Ferocity's on top of 2, first activation, hits into Gwen, doesn't quite... Oh, no, that was it. He Frosty's into her. I Spider Track her away, so he has to take the attack into Black Cat, which doesn't kill her. Then he decides to Spender, I think it was, Black Cat, which I sack to Wong. So Wong dies, and then he tries to get her with Red Skull after I've activated Gwen, gets her dazed, and then on the injured side, we play a bunch of running around. Long story short, Gwen never ends up dying because use of Spider Tracker, fallback, sacrifice, and a couple decent rolls on my part. And she ends up living on like 1 health. And really, I think the problem was like because he was so invested in killing Gwen, and Gwen basically didn't get to play the game. Peter just got to run around and completely dominate the entire board. So like I scored a lot of points just because Peter's just unmolested doing whatever he wants. But yeah, so I ended up scoring it out 16-9 at end of 3. It was a really fun game.
All right, so this is the point in the story.
Oh, yeah.
Where things start to change.
Can I set this up a little bit?
Go ahead.
So Jeremy, if you've been tracking, was 0-3 day 1. But he was in high spirits. He's like, you know what? I feel good about the games I played. I wouldn't have changed anything, just like he said earlier. We were at breakfast. He's like, I'm confident I'm going to do better today. and he was super high spirits. And so we were like, all right, we're going to have you play CGR. Is that okay? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I got it. And he goes to his table and he plays his game.
So, again, 15 points. This is the ultimate coup de grace of Kaiju games. Gamma Wave, and Researcher. Here we go again. 15 points. Here we go again. I'm playing against Star-Lord, CGR, the whole kit and caboodle. And all of this is fine. Everything is fine. So then he has priority, and somewhere along the lines of things he starts doing is he just simply moves up to the middle with Groot. And I have Mystique. And I said, cool, this guy is getting ready to lose this game hard. Because I have no other reason to not just take Groot from him, be up models. There's nothing he can do about it. And, like, I thought we were just going to play cat and mouse. Like, I thought nobody was going to move, right? There's no reason to move. He moves Groot up. I hit him with so many energy attacks. I don't kill Groot. And by...
This is CGR, right?
Yeah.
CGR mirror? Yep.
Yeah. I attack with Groot with CGR, don't kill him. I attack with Malekith, don't kill him. Groot responds at the top of 2 by staggering and throwing my own models into me, and starts this chain reaction of horse shit.
Wow.
And it doesn't stop. We get
Jeremy basically gets 1v5'd by Groot and loses.
Yeah, and
Jesus Christ.
this game I couldn't swallow. This one hurt. I just couldn't believe it was happening in this fashion. Like, there is no model that I would want right in front of all the barrels of Energy Army than a Groot. I'm like, you're fucking dead, man. Like, you can't do anything about it. Nope, didn't happen. It just completely devastated me. I broke. I couldn't understand what was going on. Like, it was very hard to take this game. Again, we got down to last models, whatever. They ended up taking it, and I believe he even openly said, I don't play that much. Like, it just wasn't that competitive of a game, honestly. And like, I just got my ass kicked because of dice and just like luck. And I just wasn't there for that. It just blew my mind that it happened in that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, this finally upset me.
So I kind of turn after my games, or I kind of turn and wander over, and Jeremy has shooken hands with his opponent, and his opponent kind of wanders off to go get his team captain to help him report his game. And so Aaron, I think it was standing there kind of talking with Jeremy. He's like, so, like, how'd your game go? And Jeremy enters what I can only describe as a manic episode. He starts doing these weird, like, dance moves and yelling. Just miming, getting, like, like, just bent over a table. And it's just like, what is happening? Like, Jeremy completely lost his mind for 10 minutes because he was so upset by what had just happened.
Which
We're laughing because Jeremy was he was not salty.
No,
like,
yeah,
outwardly.
He wasn't
So
like rage
you can
mode.
tell people are
He was-
pissed and need a minute by themselves.
Yeah,
he was
he was
punch drunk, delirious. What the fuck
Yeah.
is going on?
I've never seen this by anyone else ever before. Like, he looked like he was drunk. Like, he was so just out of body. Like, it's like, what is happening? He's like miming giving blowjobs and like all this stuff. And I was like, holy shit. Oh my god. I was like borderline crying. It was so funny.
Dude, I was done.
Jeremy's
I was
just having
done.
an episode.
I was done. I don't understand a god that would let this happen. Like,
Proves there's no god.
yeah,
Round
like
4 WTC.
dude, I just couldn't get. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. I was staring into the abyss, and the abyss stared back.
And laughed at you. And you're like, don't laugh at me. This was third round of Researcher for Jeremy, for people keeping track at home. So Aaron, how was your game?
So, by the time my game was nearing its conclusion, all the other games had finished up and we were 2-2. So it all came down to my shoulders, which you said jokingly, not realizing it was true.
Yeah, no, I actually thought we had already had it 3-1, and so I told you that it's all on you, and you better not lose.
So this
At which point he looked at me and was like, hold on a second.
Yeah, nothing like pressure. So we played St. Avengers again, this time into Shield, with a kicker, a big 7-point, you can't fucking kill me kicker known as the Immortal Hulk.
They don't call him Mortal Hulk, they call him Immortal.
This is true. Guess how many practice games I tested into Immortal Hulk's Shield, Parker?
None.
17.
Fuck, you got it right.
Damn it.
We had to take away an episode. He did a good job on that one.
I'm not holding that. I made no agreements.
Okay. Sorry, Parker.
If he rips
one
one of his hairs out right now, I'll do it.
Can I take? You want me to pluck a single hair out of my head?
Pluck a single hair out.
Okay, done.
It's got to be exactly one. If it's more or less, it won't count.
Okay, I'm going to do it.
Okay. Well, he's doing that.
Actually,
you continue. I'm going to work on this.
Yeah, he's got to go find one. So this was interesting. We played at 20 again, and if you remember, my 20 points is 2 4s, 3 3s, the standard Avengers plus the Blob. Guess who the Blob, other than just being overall amazing, counters really fucking well, Parker?
Is it
Immortal Hulk?
Oh, ding, 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 ding! It is Immortal Hulk.
Ooh, if I got 2 hairs, I get 2 episodes now.
There you go. So, I'm sure all of our listeners are aware, but for the one that's not, Blob has an ability that pushes models when they attack him, regardless of size, as long as they're within range 3. So I explained that to my opponent, who had not played all that often against Blob, but knew what he did. And then I think I moved Blob turn 1, second to last, to block the... what were we playing? We were playing... Demons Downtown.
Can't see it.
Oh, man, I'm going to get a white piece of paper. Continue.
Give me another one.
So I moved to the middle demon.
I'm amazing.
I really want to play this game aggressive on scenario because I can't let Immortal Hulk go 6 turns killing my team. Nor can I kill Immortal Hulk. So I'm okay to get incinerated turn 2. He then goes with Immortal Hulk, debates a place that would maybe get with him in range to Sam, and decides to go for the safe one into Blob. And I promptly push him away after he attacks me. He was like, oh yeah. So after that, turn 2, he throws Blob into my team, does some damage to him, but then never attacks Blob again. Because he keeps measuring with fury, but he's like, well shit, if I attack you, I get pushed in the middle of nowhere. There was a huge size 4 building horizontal between his back demon and the middle. So he had his Widow sitting behind the building that I couldn't see. But if he wanted to pop up on top of the building and shoot Blob, I would push him past the point. So he's basically in I'm just going to ignore Blob all game because it's never worth my time to actually shoot this guy.
Yep.
So he focuses all his attention on my other models. Does a good job of killing and maiming and getting them to flip points. So it's pretty well tied. I think I have a slight lead just due to the taking of the middle demons that I focused on turns 1 and 2. And I think on turn 4, Blob, the hero of the weekend, makes another great play. He moves up onto the building. Thunderous splashes Widow on the back point, holding an objective. Does 3 damage, pushes her, does the 4th damage, picks up the X-Act she was holding, and turns what was 2 points for him into 2 points for me in a 4-point swing. So, yay, the Blob. End up holding on to win that one 16-7, thanks to the strength of the Fat Man.
The Chungus.
Yes.
I will attest. I think I played Blob maybe 8 or 9 games in a row straight with MODOK 2. That guy is super bending for opponents. Man, it's just he's the captain of annoying.
I talked about this with the opponent afterwards, and I pointed out my opinion, better play. Instead of throwing Blob into my team, he did damage, or I braced one of the two. He either burned a card or did some damage. Just chuck him the other way, medium, with Immortal Hulk. I have to double move back. I mean, Blob is not an A tier character because he has 2 gaping weaknesses. 3, actually. He has shitty power gen. He has a 2 energy defense. I think it's 2 mystic as well. And a short move, and no action economy. So if you throw him out of wherever the fight's going on with no power, he is a super sad model and can do nothing about it.
Yeah. But once he gets to 3 power, though, he has a exciting way to re-enter the fray.
This is true. There is a critical threshold, but because he pays for his DR / push, it's really hard to get there because you almost always want to pay for the DR. So he almost has to daze before he gets to 3 power because he's usually not doing a lot of attacks with his builder because it's only in range 2. Yeah. And he's only getting to range 2 if he moves his squaggly ass there. So, yeah. So he has a lot of warts, but again, the reason I brought him was because his ceiling is so high. I think his ability to have an impact on the game is significantly higher than other 3 threats, such as Deadpool. And it was good to see that my thoughts were rewarded throughout the weekend. Anyway, that's my game in a nutshell.
Cool.
He also does something really interesting, and you probably saw this, which is like what you just described. He creates an X factor because your opponent doesn't see him all the time, right? And he's got a really strange.
I'd say most people have seen Blob at least once or twice, but yeah, I think you're assuming everyone at this level knows what your models do.
No, I wouldn't say like doesn't know what the card says, but like you said, doesn't know because you've played him. You understand that you got to throw him far away, and then he's a lot worse. But if your opponent hasn't had enough reps with him or against him, he wouldn't know that. So
that is true. Okay.
So remaining matchups, we had Perrin played against Steve Rogers' Avengers on Hammers and Madman and lost a close game 16-14.
He won.
Won. My apologies. I'm not used to Longshanks readouts. And then Aaron England played Utility Cookie, the famous player on their team, quote unquote. We all got to meet Cookie for the first time. He's actually a pretty cool guy. I think his name's Dave. Mm-hmm. He builds a lot of fun lists. We also met one of their players on here, George. We spent a lot of time with George over the weekend. He was a pretty cool guy to hang out with, as long as he's not hitting you in the face with a fork. Aaron lost that game 19-5, but I think he played the wrong list. We talked about it a little bit afterwards. I think he should have played Immortal Hulk into it, but he was afraid that Immortal Hulk wouldn't be wide enough to prevent the criminals from overtaking him on points too quickly. But by playing the wide version, he just guaranteed that he didn't have the tools he needed to win on attrition. So in hindsight, I think he would have played that a lot differently. Anyway, that brought us to a 3-2 victory in the 4th round. And now, finally, the final round. We played against Toms of Finland. This is pretty fun. I actually, one of the people I had been chatting with most of the weekend was a listener named Antti. He was playing Asgard, and he was on Toms of Finland, and we had talked about a bunch of stuff, like how our teams rated each other, and like what our plans were to do things.
He actually got a practice game in with Perrin the night before.
He got a practice game with Perrin the night before, which did not go his way, unfortunately. Perrin broke his Sentinel Prime into a million little itty-bitty pieces, and he was like, this model sucks. So he had a pretty rough game against Perrin. And when we were doing the pairing process, he's like, not the X-Men again, please.
I asked him straight up if he wanted a rematch, and he's like, no.
Nope, I'm good. I'm confident in my matchups. I would like to not play X-Men. So which let me play the guy I'd been chatting with all weekend, which is pretty cool. We ended up jersey swapping after the game. Antti was a pretty fun opponent. He was playing Asgard. With a lot of fun splashes. But in the matchup we played 18 threat on Mutant, Extremis, and Spider Portals. As you noticed, the Spider Portals is not my mission, because Spider Portals is, Aaron, what is it called?
Trash, garbage. It's a -50.
I would also have accepted worst mission in the game.
Okay.
All of those were fine. So he takes a 4-wide Asgard list with Hela, Angela, Thor, and Bill. First activation, Bill walks up to the side point and attempts to flip Spider Portal, rolls 3 skulls and a blank, gets ported backwards. Then I move up, flip that point with ASM, refund my power, move over, and pick up a Senator. Other side, Angela walks up, attempts to flip a point, rolls 3 blanks and a skull, gets ported off, and Black Cat walks up, picks up, or flips that point, and at that point, he basically, the only thing he could do was flip his back point, so Thor walks to the front side of it, rolls hit blank blank skull, gets ported behind it, and couldn't walk far enough to pick up a Senator because of the way the terrain was, and managed to flip a point, though. Then Hela walks up, does her Death's Embrace move to get to ASM, puts an attack into him, through ASM's Super Spider Senses and Witty Banter, and failed to do any damage, so he did not have power left to pick up an extract. So that was a really bad round for him. And it was 100% dice based. Like, he could have had a bunch of plays that could have worked out, and nothing he did worked. gave me a almost insurmountable lead of... We left one of the senators on the ground, too. So I think I was up like 1, 2, 3... It's like 7-1 or 2, I think. And then it only went downhill from there, really. He did get back in the game a bit, but it was just too little too late. I think halfway through turn 3, the game was already mathematically over, so we just kept fighting to play it out. But yeah, he was a great opponent, and after the game was over, I asked him to do me a favor and never, ever, ever play Spider Portals again. And he took the card out of the sleeve and just ripped it in half. And he's like, agreed, we'll never do that again. And I was like, I'm glad you felt the pain I felt, because the first game I ever played Mike DeLuca was the exact same thing. It was just like, every single roll, I got 0 hits and a skull. And we didn't even play a game. Like, none of the decisions either of us made mattered. The game just ended, because Spider Portals is a terrible mission.
You are now a content destroyer, not a content creator.
I guess. But yeah, other than that, we had a great game. It was good to meet him, and his team was super fun.
Okay, I need to set the stage for this next one. Realize Jeremy's going in a second. So this is Delirious Punch Drunk Jeremy. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to keep you out of CGR. Because both Jeremy and Spellshock have taken CGR to the face twice. And I'm like... for reasons that benefited the team, right? So it's not just because we hate those individuals.
No, yeah. That was the plan going in, but it worked out a little more bluntly than we expected.
So Jeremy is like, there's an edge, and he is like Roadrunner floating past it right now. And so I'm like, okay, I will take this next one. And he's like, no, I got it. Just put me in again. And I'm just
was more of like, again, a manic rage where he was just like, no, fucking do it. Fucking do it. It's just like, okay, bro, like, you got it. It's all you.
So this team was down a player who had a little bit of an emergency the night before. Having said that, they won their round 4 game down a player, which is like, okay, so you can just throw one of your 5 and still win. So they're winning 3 of 4 at this point.
And it wasn't like a person they chose to drop. The guy was literally like medically unable to play, and they still won without him. Like, it wasn't like they dropped their best player or their worst player. It was like just a random person on our team was unavailable, and then also they won without him.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're a good team, and they put down their Guardians CGR. We have to counter with 2 models. And I'm like, I have got this. And I put myself down. And I'm like, okay, Jeremy is still the best number 2 that we have based on matchups. And I'm like, I hope they just pick me.
Yeah.
Newsflash, they didn't pick me.
Yeah,
So,
Jeremy, I believe, had gone to the bathroom at this point. So we were like, that's probably for the best.
yeah, so he gets
Hopefully
back,
he'll
and
take
I'm like,
40 minutes. Hopefully
like,
he'll take 40 minutes, and we'll just decide if this is over or not before we would tell him to deploy.
So, having set the stage, Jeremy gets back from the bathroom, and I give him like the sheepish grin I can imagine. I'm like, I'm really sorry, dude. I wanted to take it for you, but you get Guardian CGR again. Here you go. Take it away, Jeremy.
Some things just have to happen. This is one of them. So when we get done talking about these things, we're going to talk a little bit about how matchups work and kind of some things that kind of blindsided me, at least. And I think it blindsided us as a team a little bit. But anyway, I looked at the matchup, and it was pretty standard stuff. The only thing that was different, I was like, well, I'm tired of these games that end up being the same, right? I was like, we'll go 15 points, it'll be the same fucking match, and we'll just go back and forth. I'm like, I'm going to shake it up. I'm choosing 19 points. What are you going to do now? Like, I was thinking, okay, I have a solid 19-point list. Like, I can go wide as fuck and also drop CGR on you. And I'm guessing that you've never had to deal with that with Cabal. I'm guessing you probably haven't. And I know what CGR can do, but can you do enough? And his answer was, I don't know if you played CGR and Hulk at the same time. I'm like, son of a bitch.
You got so Razor Apple.
Dude, I was like, oh, shit. So anyway.
Hey, Jeremy, I'm just curious, real quick. What mission did you play this time? 4 for 5, researcher.
I vomited blood.
I just want to point out the fucking odds of that. So clearly both people have it in their list, but at best it's a 1/3.
Yeah.
4 out of 5 on a 1/3 is insane. 4 out of 5 on a 50-50 is insane. 4 out of 5 on a 1/3 is nuts.
That's quite astounding.
Yeah, and it was silly.
Yeah. So
Demon's Researcher.
So I've got Red Skull. I've got a handful of this is Battle Box, guys. Like, I don't know if you've seen how I can stretch this list, but it's basically a
Red
bunch
Skull 1, Ultron, Zemo, 3 Battle Box models.
Mystique, and it's got Cosmic Ghost Rider. So turn 1 happens, right? And you the way the scenario is I have Mystique and he doesn't. So I move up just a teeny bit, and I'm like, I don't know what you got in mind, but you're going to need to do something. So actually, the truth remains, he doesn't. So at the end of turn 1, I tap Aaron, and I'm like, Aaron, come here, look at this. And I was
they actually interrupted their games, which I want to point out is a direct violation of the WTC rules, but everyone was fine with it.
Whatever. At this point, I was a direct violation of a lot of things. So,
right? Human decency.
Yeah. So he comes over and looks at it, and I'm just like, is this the most fucked up thing ever? Because I've had to do this now this is my 5th game in a row of this. I'm like, this is so fucked up. And
so the board state, just to paint the picture for people at home, is there's just 2 clear battle lines that are exactly 1 base width out of their deployment zone at the end of turn 1. Nobody has even crossed the line of where the bees are placed.
Yep.
They're barely out of their deployment zones. They're each holding the back demon with Ghost Rider, who's immune to Incinerate, and nobody else is holding a point or standing on a point. They're scoring 1-1.
Yep, 1-1. That was turn 1.
Yeah.
And that was...
And Jeremy, I believe your Ghost Rider shot his Ghost Rider twice?
I shot him once and moved back. No. I didn't hang out there. Bullshit.
Place forward, shot once, move backwards.
Yeah.
0 damage dealt.
So the second turn, I was like, okay, because he didn't move forward. He can't, because I have Mystique. So then what I did is I said, okay, check and mate, motherfucker, because what I did is I used Red Skull, and I pumped him full of power first turn, because I knew I wasn't going nowhere. So he just cubed and hung out. So the second turn, when my turn comes up, I move up and blow Hulk up with a strength 7 energy cube and send him to the back of his own table edge. And Hulk is standing in the mid, or my Red Skull's in the middle, so I make him commit. Because I don't care. Red Skull 1 is trash in my list. I don't care. So that's where we start committing and going back and forth.
Because neither player had really advanced. Hulk is literally range 1 from the board edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
I send him all the way to the back. And then we just start going back and forth. And at the end of the day, it was because of priority and because of rolls and everything that happened. I had a Mystique at the end of turn 6 that was still healthy. And I was up enough where he couldn't catch me. And I won that game. That's all that happened. I mean, it was just...
Yeah, couldn't table you mathematically, so...
Yep, I managed to keep it alive. And it was because I played 19 and I kept enough shit alive and hung back. Ugh. So yeah, I finally pulled one out. Hooray! Good for Jeremy.
Yep. Good job, man. 10-1.
10-1.
Did you actually table him, or did you just win on points?
I won on points.
Okay. So Aaron.
I ended up playing against my second X-Men match of the tournament into Yarko. Yarko was relatively new, but really fucking good for a new player. I don't know what they do with Finnish babies, but apparently they start playing games when they're in the womb. Or he lied and he's not really new. Because, he made 0 mistakes and knew everything about the game, including what I was trying to do and whatnot. It just so happened that I voodooed him, which meant I didn't even steal an extract. I just fucking nuked his ass with the double spender. Killed the model that was, had the extract. I went up 3-1 extracts and we forced parity. And I think I actually won up 1 on the secures. It was Extremis struggle for the cube. So used Extremis to heal my models after he was hurting them. And then my displacement to kind of go up on turn 2 or turn 3 with the secures. So I eked out a very slight scenario lead on turn 2 or 3. Actually, we tied turn 2 and 3. So I instituted something during the tournament called high 5 ties. So after any round in which we were tied, we had to high 5. I only remember that in this game because it was rounds 1 and 2 were both high 5 ties. So we were 5-5 and 10-10. So it was on turn 3 when I was finally able to kind of break that stalemate and just go up, I think, by 2 on both turns 3 and 4. And I ended up pulling it out in 1915.
Nobody told me about this new policy.
You make your own policies. I have model pep tops and high 5 ties.
Do you know how many high 5 ties I would have had?
6.
Zero.
I was watching your game.
No.
6.
0. Alrighty. So other games this round. Perrin technically had a bye because one of their players was absent, so they forfeited that game. But there was another player who had a bye, so they ended up playing an actual game. I don't know if this is accurate, but Perrin has entered here that he won 14-0. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's the bye. The bye is 14 now.
Okay, well, there you go. That's how it works then. But he did get a game in that was against an opponent. Then I think he had a good time.
Yeah.
And then the final game was Aaron England versus a Hellfire Club player named Timo. And he won that 16-10. So we ended up taking it 5-0 this round. But
well
again,
done.
great opponents that were actually pretty good. Very fun times.
All right. Does the world get to ask you guys questions now?
Just a second. Just following up, we ended up placing 11 out of 31 teams, because we ended up losing Team UN.
Technically a tie for 10th.
Yeah, we tied for 10th. I think technically we tied for 7th, but yeah.
Well, first tiebreaker is strength of schedule, and we tied
Gotcha.
on strength of schedule for 10th.
Yeah.
And who
Tied Freedom
cares
Force
after that?
schedule. Yeah. Freedom Force got 10th. We tied them at strength schedule. But yeah. Really fun time. Definitely recommend the WTC. So I think with that, we will open up listener questions.
All right, here we go. Zach, a listener, had a question. He says, were there any lists or affiliations in hindsight that you over or underestimated? For example, Shield going 12-22 and Wakanda going 23-7. Were you surprised about a performance of a affiliation overall?
I don't know what you guys think. Personally, I think rating an affiliation solely based on its performance at an event is a bad thing to do. But especially in a team format where like you're not playing an even field, you're getting targeted into specific matchups.
Well, the question wasn't rating. It was just more was there anything that raised your eyebrow?
I'm getting there. But I would say that I thought... Is there an easy way to look up the data?
Yes. Go to the Longshanks and rightmost tab is data.
Okay, like affiliation ranking. Is that what I'm looking at? There we go. Black Order getting 83% wins seems silly, even at 12 games played. Wakanda, I'm not impressed. Convocation, Guardians, Midnight Suns. Avengers is definitely lower than I expected. Let's look at the leader breakdown. Sam at 50% is, I think, surprisingly low, but I think a lot of people used him as an anchor to like throw into the worst possible matchups, but I don't know that that's true or not.
So I actually looked into that extensively because I saw the same thing. I saw Avengers 44, whatever, Sam 50%, and I'm like, what the ever-loving hell? Like, there is no way Sam is 50% win rate, especially at a call it prestigious event. So going down, the people who actually played Sam, the top 4 players went 16-2 with Sam.
Yeah, that's the problem. So the other people had real bad days. Yeah.
No, it's not that. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's not that they had bad days. It's that their lists were not the typical Sam list. So the typical Sam list will have, Sam, Iron Man, Luke Cage, Voodoo, kind of as its core.
Bill.
And then you can add Bill or Panther. So the top performing list had the same core, plus or minus a model or two. When you get to the bottom, people who didn't do well with Sam, they had Steve, Sam, maybe Luke, Wolverine, Cable. Like, what is this list trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
there's just a pile of Avengers leftovers on a team.
Right. So if you take the Sam list and you pilot it well, let's not say that. Obviously, you'll do well if you pilot any list well. I think the Sam list has a much greater than 50% win rate. So you can't just look at this event statistic and go, oh, Sam's not good. Or whatever, 50% might be fine in your eyes. And I think you have to take that same analysis with almost everything here, or you'd have to dive into it more deeply than what the base statistics are. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of point that out, because I do not a lot. I will occasionally peruse Longshanks and look at stats and be like, oh, interesting. But when you actually dig down into the details, it's where you really find out why. So Sam is still a great leader if used effectively. How about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The only one that surprised me is 12 games with Black Order, 7 of them with Thanos. So, man, I don't know. That really surprises me. I'd like to see more information about that. I wonder if it was like a Black Order was a specific counter to something, and they got their matchup. But yeah, I don't think that any of the results really surprised me. I think it's about kind of what we thought. Like, the percentages will go up or down, but it's a lot of it is like, honestly, like, how much did your team like put value on your matchups? Because you're kind of deciding like half of your team is going to get matchups they want, and half of them aren't. And so if they're putting you into good matchups, you're going to have a great win rate, which is why this is a really biased number. Like if let's say, for example, we had Parker on the team and Parker was playing A-Force. We're like, all right, Parker, we're only putting you into Kaiju matchups, which you're good against.
Right.
And we managed to successfully do that 5 rounds in a row. You'd probably go 5-0. You have a really good shot at it because you've got the matchups you want. You're prepared. You have the tools. And like, that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, on the back end, Aaron might be playing, Brotherhood, and I keep putting him into Web Warriors, and because that's the matchup I don't get to pick. Mm-hmm. And if that's true, then maybe he goes 0-5. So like, it's not necessarily representative of like how the player actually is or the affiliations actually are. Yeah. It's very weighted based on very specific situations. And I think Aaron's totally right with the breakdown of the SAM list.
I think this is one of the kinds of tournaments that is really difficult to look at, like overall performance of an affiliation, and take a lot from it because of, like you said, you can. It's not just completely random which each affiliation plays, and you have an equal shot of getting a good or bad matchup. It's actually strategic based on a lot of things. Yeah. So.
And you can use that to your advantage. Like Jeremy was talking about matchup stuff earlier. Like if I know that like you're the guy that's never going to get to pick his matchups, I might decide to give you a list where you have just a really high shot of high rolling people. Like we do like a Guardian CGR plan, and it's like you're just going to go for it, and it doesn't matter who you play. Like, and I will never prioritize your matchups, and it's just a totally different situation. Yeah. But yeah, I think Wakanda had a really good showing, and Black Order I think is an anomaly.
So I think Black Order's, it has 12 games. I think that's too small of a sample size. Mm-hmm. So for me to answer the question beyond what I already said, my 2 biggest on the size would be Wakanda and Shield. I mean, 30 games with Wakanda is, I think, probably enough of a sample size, and 78% is good. Shield with a 35% win rate over 34 games seems abysmally low, considering I consider them a top-tier faction. I have not done the analysis to figure out why, but again, I think they're a top-tier faction when they have Dynamo and Iron Man. Okay, did those 2 models get taken from the Shield affiliation, in which case I do not think they're top-tier. So it really is, devil in details as to why they may or may not have performed up to expectations.
I have a fun stat point for you, Aaron. You've probably looked, but if you haven't, did you see the breakdown of Wakanda leaders?
I did not, no.
How many do you think were M'Baku out of 30 games?
Well, I'm going to assume that 6 games were unreported with a leader, so I'm going to assume that there are 24 leaders, and M'Baku was a leader in 5 of them.
You are wrong on both, but close.
Okay.
There were 4 games unreported with leaders. Mm-hmm. M'Baku was 3 of them and went 2-1. Panther went 17-6.
Yeah.
Which is actually a higher win rate than M'Baku, although it's a 3-game sample, so. But anyway. Moving on. What's the next one, Parker?
Also from Zach, was there any model that really stood out in a unique way different than you all expected? I think Aaron could say Blob, but was there anybody else who had a model show up?
Do you think he means on our list, or
he said any model that stood out? Just a remarkable model.
Just like seeing the model, I'm like, oh, you've got such and such, or we've got X or Y, and like that's surprising.
Like Jeremy's first game, he already talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thor under Wakanda with herbs, or what is it called? Spirit of Wakanda, along with all the rerolls. Basically, making him throw whenever he wants and keep him alive against basically anything, makes him fucking insane. So anyone wanting to try that, go for it.
Thor can move for Asgard, attack, still have power left to Black Panther leadership to reroll a die, which is basically getting 7 dice to try and get a wild, hit the wild, throw you into your own people, and stagger you, is like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this is dumb. And then if he ends up bumping you into somebody really close, and he does 3 damage on the builder, or doesn't need to reroll, and only does 2 damage, he can just throw you again with the superpower.
Yeah.
Like, so he does 2 size 4 collisions and a stagger on the first turn.
Yep.
And it's just like, fuck you, dude. Like, it's
It's a
so
lot.
crazy how quick that can get going, because Spirit Wakanda is broken.
Mhm.
Anyway, moving on.
I did
Card needs
not
to be
play
banned.
against anything super out there.
Okay.
So, other than my own personal blob experiences, I don't have one.
I have to say, Peter, me playing Peter Parker is definitely on that list for me.
Nice.
Yeah, Brandon
I
got.
think a lot of people...
I said you got
Go ahead.
multiple props throughout the day when people are like, you playing Peter 1?
Oh,
lot of-
yeah.
A lot of people be like,
Guy-
yeah, respect.
Yeah, guy walked by Friday night and gave you a shout out for playing Red Skull 1.
Dude, I had so many
Remember?
people,
Yeah,
even though, like,
and Ultron.
well, Ultron
I
didn't
mean,
really produce.
Ultron was kind of a weird spot. It was
Ultron
just like,
didn't
I
produce.
have to have a 4-pointer.
But I
Yeah.
can tell you Red Skull 1 outshined many models that were played that day from many people. Like,
Mhm.
I threw many things off the board with fucking Red Skull 1.
Omni unlimited size throw is pretty cute.
And unlimited size push.
And
like,
unlimited size. He
people
has
don't know.
unlimited board control.
People don't
Yeah.
know.
So, Parker,
Mhm.
who had the higher win rate? Red Skull 1 or Malekith? Or Sin
Of the Cabal leaders.
of the Cabal leaders?
The higher win rate, Red Skull 1, Malekith, or Sin?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Malekith.
You are incorrect. Due to our
That's
boy
1,000.
Jeremy Constance, it's Red Skull 1.
Boom.
That's 1,000 episodes, Parker. You just
Hold
lost.
on, 1? He only won 1. I'm confused.
No. Red Skull was 3 and 4, and Malekith was 9 and 13. So technically, Red Skull had a 2% higher win rate.
Interesting.
Not just us,
Mhm.
but throughout the event, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
There was, I believe we've confirmed I'm the only one that played Peter Parker 1 in the event, and I want to say that I'm 100% happy with the exact list I chose to take. Peter 1 not only was absolutely fucking clutch in every game I played him, but absolutely broke people's brains with understanding how my list worked. Because they had never ever played against a Web Warrior list with 2 web lines, and a one that went 7 wide or 6 wide at 17 points. They clearly were just like only worried about the cookie cutter list, and every time I actually started playing, my opponent around the middle of turn 1 was like, "Oh shit, this isn't like I've played before," and they just had to completely relearn the matchup in one move, and it was really cool.
Yeah,
I definitely think I was advantaged on experience in pretty much every game I played.
Cool.
John asked, how often were you able to get a favorable matchup in the pairing process?
Exactly 40% of the time, thanks to Aaron.
Okay.
Really good job with all those fucking priority rolls. I think your total combined was 4 on fucking 20 dice.
It was
So-
pretty bad.
Follow-up
Oh my
question.
God.
You guys did a lot of prep work for the event. What part of the prep was worth it, and what would you have done differently in hindsight?
100% of the prep was worth it. We needed to do like 3 times as much was the only problem.
He's wrong, but let's let Jeremy tackle this one for first.
Get it.
So okay, so this goes back to what I was kind of saying earlier. They did some things which were weird, right? I never in a million years would have dreamed that they would take the CGR players and say, "Yep, I'll pair my CGR player against the CGR player to get those off the table," because I would consider that to be a coin flip game, regardless whether they're the best CGR player or worst. Like, the dice are going to decide that game. It doesn't matter. Like, it's all about priority and dice, really. Like, you know how far it can go. It's infinite. Like, it's unlimited power, right? Who cares? So take that and use that for what it's worth. Anyway, knowing what I know now, I should have been practicing those matchups. 15 points. What does that look like? Should I have chose 19 every time? Is that the matchup for those big games like that? I would have put different cards in there against the matchups. Like, I had planned on playing standard issue Marvel Crisis. Like I practiced against criminals. I practiced against webwares. I practiced against lists that are actually good. Like kaiju lists are just kind of kaiju lists. Like they're not the ones that are going to take you the whole way, but they can. But my practice was kind of I learned my list real well, but I certainly didn't get practice against the things I played against, if that makes sense. That's what was so dumbfounding about my experience for this team thing. Like it was absolutely dumbfounding. The games I played were not my expected games. It's very weird. And that's what I would have done. I would have practiced against the big guys, and I would have changed my tactics cards. I would have practiced against big guys with my wide lists. Would have practiced at different point totals. That's what I would have changed. I think we did all the other prep correctly, though. I just think that my matchups were the ones where we kind of failed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because everybody else did really well with their matchups, honestly. I think.
I think there was definitely... So my biggest regret when it comes to our preparation is that we selected our teams or our affiliation matchups, like breakdown of everything we were playing, before we really looked at like what we were good into. And as we started to find that our coverage of matchups had holes, we didn't really re-examine what we were playing. And I don't know that we had to change necessarily, but I think we probably should have changed with things within our list to like get stronger matchups in those holes. And I know I personally didn't play enough targeted games, just like Jeremy was saying. I should have been going, okay, well here's like all of my 3 matchups, or like the things I think are close games. I should have been targetedly playing matchups. And I did a little bit at the end, but mostly I was just like, I'll just play as many games as I can.
Yeah. And
that will result in me getting the most information, which was absolutely not true, because I can play webs into Jeremy as many times as I want. I'm not going to get any more information. Other than Jeremy's going to get pissed off. That's about all I'm going to learn.
And you'll never play that matchup.
They'll
exactly. Never let it happen.
Never play that no, actually, we did. I played that matchup in round 4, and I fucking destroyed him. Like, all those prep games we got actually helped me.
Okay.
It's just unfortunate that they didn't help you, right?
Yeah.
Because you never saw
I never played. I never played anything with like less than 4 models.
Yeah.
Or more than 4 models. Yeah.
No, your closest thing to a normal game was the Wakanda matchup.
My first matchup I'd play again. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. No, it's actually a pretty interesting game. I wish now that I've seen it in practice, I think I have a new plan for how I would have approached it, but I don't think we needed to go that far. Aaron, do you have takeaways?
I would need to go back and look at the kind of the spreadsheets that we did and kind of figure out how they matched up with real life. I want to say that our assumption of what other teams would drop into what we put on the table was wholly incorrect.
Really? I don't necessarily think that, but it's obviously hard to predict what people will do because they have different...
We have what we predicted they would do. What we just need to go down is, you have the notes of what they actually did and see where we were right, where we were wrong. Because I'm looking into...
I would really like to do that, but...
At some point, that's fine. But like into, Cookies Monsters, we had Jeremy into criminals almost every time. In reality, he ended up playing their CGR. Like, so how did that happen? The reason
we assumed...
Go ahead. I said the reason that actually happened in the quote-unquote real world was most of those games were a coin flip for Jeremy. And in 3 of our 5 matchups, I played into what I rated as 5s. And I only had about 8 5s in the entire 160 lists. That meaning lists that I thought I was extremely advantaged into. I won all 3 of those games, and we were able to get me into those advantaged matchups because Jeremy took the coin flip.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of regret about the pairing process as we went through it. I think we had a good analysis of what lists we thought we were good into or not so good into. And then we put people into matchups to benefit the team to make our team score better. Jeremy and Aaron ended up eating the brunt of the bad matchups so the others of us could profit. is really what it boiled down to.
Yeah. I would recommend also anyone who's looking at the stats from the outside in and wasn't like involved in any way, not saying that you like your opinion doesn't matter or anything, but like it's really important to look at it through like a very specific lens of people had a plan. Like Jeremy basically got thrown under the bus 3 rounds in a row, and so that other people could try and excel. Like I went 4-1, Jeremy went 1-4. But if we just make that decision in reverse, it could easily have been the opposite, right? Like if I'm eating bad matchups so that Jeremy can have good matchups, we could have easily swapped scores. And so like no individual person's record really matters that much. It's more about what did the team do. And so when you're looking at the breakdown, if it's like everyone on our team has a bad matchup in the CGR except for 2 people, and they're both like coin flip games, are you better just eating the loss with a really bad matchup so that somebody else can have a good matchup? And it's like that; those sacrifices happen all the time, and without context, you don't know that. So if you just like look up somebody's score and like, oh, this guy went 0-5, he must be bad. Like that's probably not the case, right? And so I just people know, like, don't just assume personal record matters. It really doesn't.
Yep.
The last game we were even talking about it. Aaron's like, "What do you want to play?" And I told Aaron, I was like, "I want us to win this last fucking match. Like, put me into whatever.
We need to get to 3-2.
We need to get to 3 and 2.
Make it happen."
I'm like, let's fucking do it, man. I'm busy eating dick here, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like,
exactly.
I am so hungry for, like, just give me whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
So did we get the last part of that question? What was the prep worth it? And what you do differently?
Absolutely.
Doing differently. I have a whole new plan on how to do matchup stuff later, which is less time consuming for the individual players. It was a lot of like learning curve stuff. Like the only things we would change are things in hindsight that we had no evidence to change at the time. I know personally I misrated several matchups that this is the reason I lost the one game I lost is because I underrated the matchup.
Kenny asks, how many times did you guys table someone? And regardless of the answer, why in the hell wasn't it more?
Jeremy had a bad day, that's why.
0, Kenny. We tabled 0 opponents.
And that's
because
why.
we're nice. We wanted to make friends. So.
Aww. All right. Kenny had a follow-up question. This is a complex question, so I'm going to break it down for you. What surprised each of you most? I think we already talked a little bit about when we talked to like models and stuff, but was there something else?
Just in general, let's see.
I can go first.
Yeah, why don't you go
first? This is both. This actually was the surprise, and that is how casual the entire tournament felt. I was blown away by the people that were there. I have a relatively negative attitude towards humanity. But the people there were generally awesome people, wonderful opponents, and it just felt like I was playing Thursday night at the game store. There were takebacks, like he forgot to heal on Riots, and then pass turn to me, and I'm like looking at my guys for 10 seconds. He's like, "Oh, I forgot Riots, the Extremis console." And I was like, "So do it." He's like, "No, it's past it." I'm like, "Just fucking heal your goddamn guy for 1. We good? Okay." And then he did something else later that turn. And he wouldn't take it back, no matter how much I said, just do it. And I think that happened throughout the tournament. It really felt like you were just playing on a Thursday night. The people were awesome. That was, you always hope you're going to have good opponents and they're going to be awesome and you're going to feel relaxed playing a game between 2 people. But I just had a blast, being my, I don't know what you call me, not jovial, but over the top self, just having fun while you're playing.
Schizophrenic.
Sure. So that surprised me that it actually was so good.
I agree. I kind of expected it to be that way based on experience in the past, but yeah, everyone was super cool. All the games were pretty easy. Even with the language barriers, everyone was like doing their best to be very open and obvious about what they were doing. But yeah, everyone was super chill. I'd say the thing that surprised me the most was the number of listeners we ran into. Seemed like every other person I talked to actually has listened to the cast or currently listens, and it was surprising. I figured with the number of people not being from the U.S., obviously, I figured we would not be very well known, but running into, I think, 3 of the teams we played against actually listened, as well as a bunch of people I ran into and talked with.
Jeremy, what surprised you?
CGR.
I mean, like I said earlier, there's I think there's like three things. One, number one, Perrin was ruining people with X-Men. That surprised me. Like he was actively hurting people on the tabletop with that fucking list of his. I can't remember his record. Was he like 3-2? Was he 4-1? Like he did really
three
well.
and 2.
That's awesome.
But he played a lot of pickup games.
Yeah.
I think he won all of his pickup games.
He was doing really good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm always impressed when you travel and there's a bunch of people and you got a whole entire room full of strangers and your only connection is this weird ass game we play. And that connection is this entire set of rules and things, and you can just line up and just do it and have a great time, and then afterwards, like suddenly they're a part of like your friend group. That to me is amazing, and this is like the Olympics of this game, I guess. That was how I kind of describe it to people who, I work with. I'm like, I mean, we played Finland and Sweden and, these countries. I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. I was just surprised at how smooth the games went, like, and how much fun it was. I lost 3 games in a row, and I had amazing games. Like, they were tight and fun. The 3 games in a row was fine. I didn't hit 4. I almost lost my shit on 4. 4 was not cool. I know how many games I lost, Brandon. Thank you for holding your fingers up.
Oh, well, you said in a row.
I did lose 3, and I had
I'm holding up my hand of fork.
I said I lost 3 games in a row and had an amazing time.
Oh, okay.
That statement is separate than I lost 4 games in a row.
Okay,
That's a separate statement.
That's fair.
And I was amazed at the food. The quality of food at a hotel that's directly connected to an airport is just astounding. Like the quality of life and the food.
I'm gonna butt in for a second because Chris asked this question exactly. Each of you guys, what was the best thing you ate on your trip? Go.
Burger King.
Fucking hate you.
Swedish meatballs. Fucking amazing.
Swedish meatballs.
I do wish I had those Swedish meatballs.
Dude, they were so good.
And for $45, they better have been, but still.
Your box of weeds.
The burger I had was not very good, yeah. The meat was good, but the bun, and it was not put together very well. I did really like dinner on Saturday. Dinner on Saturday was good. The teriyaki chicken was solid.
That chicken was fucking good.
The dessert was also great. It was raspberry cake, but it was like this little, like, I don't know what kind of cake it was, but it's this little, like, shortcake.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had these like cream sundaes. It was like cream with like a raspberry jam on top, and so I would mix it all up, and I would dip the raspberry cake into it. It was so very good. Yeah. Breakfast was very solid. I didn't realize that the cultural thing was for them to eat just like sliced cheeses and meats and vegetables and stuff. That was pretty good. I even liked the eggs. The eggs were okay. I know they're runny, but that's like the standard. Yeah, it was overall very good. It's nice to get up in the morning, eat some like fresh ingredient food, and like kind of get going. I absolutely do not like the fact that they only drink out of shot glasses. That seemed very weird and annoying. I was like, well, I've had 1.5 swallows, so it's time to go back and get more water. Like, fucking Christ. Every time I've gone to Europe, I've been like, these people must be fucking constantly dehydrated. Like, there's no water anywhere. They don't have water fountains. It's like, I think they expect everybody to just carry around a thermos of water because you'll die if you don't. It was very weird. But I mean, obviously, when you're sleep deprived, you get dehydrated anyway. So it's probably just like me in my own head. But yeah, alcohol and sleep deprivation does not equal well hydrated. And so I'm just guzzling water all weekend.
Aaron, favorite thing you ate?
It'd have been the dinners. They just had a lot of wide variety of food. Good food.
Okay.
Nothing specific.
Aaron, I think I know the answer to this because I listened to the last cast, and I'm pretty sure you checked them all off. But were there any goals that you didn't fulfill in terms of finishing goals? Mm-hmm. I know you had goals for for the whole team, and you had goals for yourself. Were there any of them that you didn't meet?
No. Okay. Obviously, you can stack goals, right? Mm-hmm. You have like the bare minimums, and then you have your, we want to win the tournament. That is a goal, right?
Right.
It is also more of a hope and aspiration than an actual goal, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So of all the ones that I would put more than 50% goal than aspiration, I think we hit them all. Like I would have liked to have been 4-1. But leaving 3 and 2 is totally happy. If that kind of makes sense. So I'm going to say yes, we hit the goals.
Win all your matches that you have a 51% chance into.
Yep, win all those. Just lose the 49%er.
Yep.
Nice.
Because you're a fucking idiot and can't count.
Oh.
Oh, by the way. So, hold on, I got a timeout. No, so I went back and, obviously gave the recap to my wife. So as we're driving back, I'm like, yeah, so, I played this guy. He's a good guy. Maybe the best player in the world, but kind of a good guy. And I lost the game because I made a stupid fucking error, right? And it's like, but that's okay. I'm gonna dwell on it for like 2 days, then I'll get over it. And she's gonna be like, nah. Or you're just gonna live with it the rest of your fucking life. I'm like, what, really? That's some harsh pain right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, she just knows you. I mean, of all the people on the entire planet, she knows you better than anyone. And she's like, yeah, you're going to do all this for the rest of your entire fucking life.
Thanks, dear.
Yeah.
Your 49% tattoo. You're going to have to add to your collection.
You need to get the 49% tattoo.
I said t-shirt, not tattoo.
I'm pretty sure you said tattoo.
Let's not kid ourselves. You need a sweatshirt or else you'll never wear it.
It's true.
He'll wear it. We just won't see it.
It needs to be a hoodie.
It'll be under the hoodie. Yeah.
Right.
All right. What's that?
I got another question. This is from Chris. Was there anything unique to a European meta that you kept encountering that was different than what we think of around locally as a meta? Was there any European meta that you could identify?
I didn't. I know that statistically speaking, they play more of one thing than the other. Like I think Avengers are less popular in the UK, and Webs are more popular in the UK. But other than that, I mean, with the team format, meta's pretty much thrown out the window. So,
they don't. The one thing I will say that they do not do or have that we have like mountains of is cool dice and cool widgets and shit. Like we have more cool shit. They don't bring any of that, dude. Yeah. They just have what comes in the box and they roll that. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that the US has a pretty crazy amenities like sensation that they don't. So a lot of people don't have like custom tokens. They don't have custom dice. They don't have all that stuff. So when we gave all of our opponents a set of dice, they were all like, "Oh, this is really cool!" And when we pulled out our infamous objective tokens, they're like, "Oh, those are cool!" And so having like all the branded stuff was pretty interesting because everyone's like, "Oh man."
Here's a good follow-up question. How many of the anti-Ghost Rider tokens were taken? Did you guys give any of those away? Did you bring those with you?
That's on air.
None, because enough people locally wanted them. I didn't have enough to give away. So
okay.
I thought you gave one away.
I gave one away to Sooner because he is a staunch anti-CGR advocate.
Yeah, that's true. He flatly refused to play CGR even though his team told him he should.
Yes, his list would have been better without it, and he refused to do so. So he, as a co-founding member of the CGR Free Zone, got a token. But otherwise, I did not have any free ones to give away.
I've got one more follow-up meta question. This one's from Ryan. I know meta was really wide, but overall, meta in good place or meta in bad place for an event like this?
I can go last if you guys want, or I can go first.
You want me to go first? I'll go first with a really quick one. Okay?
Yeah, go for it.
So, as long as all the CGR people play each other, I think your meta is just fine.
I think the meta is in the best place it's been in a very long time. Now, that's not to say it's not devoid of issues, but especially right now with the new core set out, I think people should be looking in a positive direction, not a negative direction. And everyone wish listing for nerfs online is not helping anything. So I think the meta's in a pretty solid place. I'm more excited to play now than I have been in a very long time.
I will say that the diversity of lists at the WTC astounded me, continues to astound me. I loved seeing all the various lists that were out there. Other than Prio having an impact, I loved the pairing process, getting to massage who got to play who. If there could be a way to do that in a fair manner, I would have loved it even more. I am very hesitant to see what the next month is going to bring, like at a competitive event with CGR available. So I'll hedge my I love the meta speech with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've gone out repeatedly before and said that the diversity of affiliations at the WTC, I think, is unparalleled and will probably never be repeated. I think it was absolutely amazing.
Ooh, challenge accepted for next year's, I suppose.
And we'll see, but I don't think we will. I think next year people will start group thinking a bit more. I think people were really excited to do new stuff this time, and so we'll see how it goes.
Real fast, it might be hard to pick one, and I know you guys have given a pretty good overview and alluded to some of these, but Josh wanted to know, could you pick one best moment in a game that teetered your totter? You really liked that moment. You were very satisfied with something. Best moment in a game.
I think that we need a requirement first. I will only do so if you agree to never say that again.
How about trip your trigger?
I will literally stab you.
Flip your wig. Could you do that?
Either of those two are fine. If you say whatever the fuck that was the first time again, you're off the cast and banned from the geekery.
Wow, that is
and I'm not kidding at all.
Wow, that is intense. I did not know that was a trigger for you.
Apparently it is.
Yeah, okay.
Neither did I, because it's never fucking happened.
Okay, cool. Now I know.
Aaron, I think you have one, right?
Yes. So I already talked about the blob pushing Storm into the Voodoo Logan play, which was amazing. But my most favorite point was playing a pickup game against Niklas on Saturday night. He was playing his Convocation. He's an amazing Convocation player.
I know where this is going.
Jeremy knows where this
is going.
We're literally going to get canceled.
And so we're playing this game, and throughout the entire event, Sam either has great dice or horrible dice. And by great dice, I mean he's either pushing people, ricocheting, pushing more people, or he just blanks out completely. So you see it all throughout the course of the event. So I understand how in a game, playing at Sam can be the most frustrating thing in the world. Or he can be like the worst 3 threat you've ever seen against you. Like, I don't get why people like this character. So that was nice to see throughout 9 games. So I think I had like 1 or 2 damage on his Strange. And I go to charge to just like whatever. I need to get there anyway. I'll spend 2 power. I'll get 1 refunded. We'll see what happens. This is on Ironbound Book's turn. And so I pick up 4 dice of my random pool of 10. And I say, charge, shield throw. And I ask him, would you like to change this attack to Mystic? And he says, oh, yes, I will. And I say, aha, well then, I will grab my Mystic attack dice. And I put my 4 dice down, and I pick up 4 new ones. And I roll like 6 or 7 hits that he doesn't block at all. I fucking just one-shot his Strange with a shield throw from Sam. The cool thing about it was the fact that I changed my dice, not reached like behind me, but just in the pool of dice that I've been rolling the entire time, like the 10 I have. Like I was just being cute, right?
It looked cute.
Schizophrenic. Yeah, you're being schizophrenic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just with my Mystic attack dice, just blew through his Strange.
I was
by
so
far.
glad.
I wonder why. If people ask why UK people hate Americans, this is exactly why.
That's the reason. You really okay?
This was Niklas from Sweden, not the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, that's fair. From Europe.
Yeah, okay.
And at that point,
So anyway,
I told him. I asked him. I was
also
like,
not part of the EU. Yeah.
I was like, and at some point, you're going to come across the table after him. Like, I was like, dude, he's going to get charged.
Yeah. So that was mine.
Yeah. Crazy.
Jeremy, did you have one?
I had several, but honestly, one of the my favorite times or thing that happened was against George. He comes over and we're talking, and George makes us a bunch of drinks, or he he kept offering drinks during the tournament, and I'm like, no, I'm not drinking right now, and we're sitting down kind of after everything's over, and this is after the last round, and he's like, you want a drink? And I'm like, I don't know why I keep saying no. Hell yeah, I do. So he makes us a drink, and we're drinking and laughing or whatever. And I'm like,
he's like, no, I don't want to drink until I've lost all my games. Yeah, give me some fucking alcohol.
So we decide we're going to play a game, and we're kind of talking back and forth, and we're discussing some CGR stuff and like kind of our experience. And he's been pretty let down by the experience as a whole. And I'm like, okay, well, hey man, let's play a game. And I got to tell you what, I can tell you right now, I don't want to play CGR. So don't worry about that. I'm putting that aside. Let's just fucking play a game. And I can tell you, I'm not playing any big models. And he's like, cool. So we play a game. Line just shit up. He's got a bunch of Cable, and he's got Deadpool. And he tells me how his favorite list has like double Josh Brolin in it. And it's got Ryan Reynolds, and they're all like, he's very characterful. Like, he loves all of his characters, and he's got a story. And he's the one that, like, when he does the Deadpool dance thing, you have to play the music and do the dance.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know, so let's give them a quick rundown.
Yeah, tell that exactly. I don't remember exactly what the deal was with that.
So the Cookies Monsters, his entire thing was he brought Deadpool because he loves to dance, and so his goal for the entire event was to use Dance Party, which is the dice trigger on maximum effort on his injured side.
Injured side, yes.
And so he brought a speaker, and as soon as he used Dance Party, their whole team was going to stop playing, switch the clocks to them. They were going to turn on music and start dancing. And
that's
so
adorable.
The entire event, that's all he was trying to do.
Yep.
And none of his opponents obliged him. They all just fucking ran right through Deadpool and never gave him a chance.
Yeah, that's not good. So we're going through this discussion or whatever. We set our lists up and we start playing, and somewhere halfway through, and we're having a great time. We're jumping through portals and shooting each other, and it's one of the most standard issue games of Marvel Crisis you could play. It was very honest, as people would call it. Very honest game. Until Red Skull 1 decides to check his cube. He gains a shitload of power, and then one-shots Cable and fucking blows him up with one cube blast. And that was one of my favorite things that happened in the entire thing. And it drew Deadpool in, did a point of damage, got him closer to doing his dance party and all of that shit. So that cracked me up. I like that one.
Nice.
And just playing George was a blast. He was a crack up. Just kept bringing us drinks, and he brought us drinks later, and he just.
One of those, George was definitely like life of the party.
He's one of those people that if he showed up at your game store, you'd be like, "You got a game yet? Come on over, let's play a game, man." So, good guy.
I'm gonna pick a moment in a game against Johan. I was playing against Wakanda, and I had just played all webbed up, so like most of his models were slowed at this point. And I've got Miles holding an extract, and he is activating Black Panther, and I'm kind of like surrounded by Black Panther, Shuri, and M'Baku. They're like all in a triangle around me. And I know that this is about to go sideways, and my only chance is to keep Miles standing through Black Panther's activation. Black Panther has a bunch of power. And so he measures it, and he's just barely out of range, too. So he's like, okay, so I'm going to play Wakanda Forever first. And so he shoots with Shuri to push me into Black Panther's range, so that way he can hit me and then pounce and then hit me again. And then M'Baku can hit me after if there's still life left. And then if not, he can attack Toad, who's got an extract next to him. So he shoots Miles. I fall back to the other side of Black Panther, and then because there's no terrain nearby, he pushes me out the backside because he has to push. So now the only person who has range to me is M'Baku, who's barely got range, like in cover. And so he hits me again, spider senses, blah, 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 witty banter. I end up taking like 2 damage from the attack. And so now Black Panther's in this really weird situation where to attack me, he'll have to not be on an objective. So he ends up shaking slow and advancing to a point. So he plays Spirit of Wakanda with Black Panther on 3 people and makes 2 attacks. And after he finishes activation, he says, "Well played." I was like, nice. It's like, I completely shut down his huge aggro turn by just, properly timing a couple defensive mechanics.
Nice.
So that was one of my more fun interactions, mostly because my opponent recognized it, and we had kind of a laugh at it.
This is another quick follow-up question for you, Brandon. This is just a question for Richard. How many rounds did you play Peter 1? You said a bunch of rounds, but how many was it?
Unfortunately, it was only 3 because 2 of my rounds I played 18 and 19 points, which my list, while it is amazing at 17 and 20, it is weaker at 18 and 19 because my only real option is to upgrade a 3-pointer to a 4 or upgrade a 3-pointer to a 5. And at 18, I can upgrade a 4-pointer to a 5. And so because of that, I end up with ASM in the list twice. Even though I don't really want to play ASM in either game, I kind of want to play them in the last round. I did not want to play ASM against Wakanda. I just didn't really have another choice to get 19 points. It's really the only thing I can do that is competitive, at least. So unfortunately, I was kind of locked into a list I didn't want to play. I actually think if we play at 17, I win that game with Peter. 1. So the answer is 3. I wish it was more. He was absolutely wrecking all weekend.
Nice. Connor asks, how much was the time differential an issue on day 1 of play?
Jeremy, you want to take that one?
For me,
Jeremy's still in Denmark.
No,
time.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't. During play, I'm fine. I'm very good when it comes to gaming and focus. But the problem is in between gaming. Like, I was swimming in space and time. And then the second I'm back at the table, I'm okay. And then shifting back and forth, like, I didn't know if I was sleeping, awake, where the fuck, like, it was weird. It's still been weird. Like, I'm just barely getting back into the kind of where I'm at kind of mode.
Spell Shock's the only one I'm not really sure about, but I think, honestly, everyone, during the games, dealt with the sleep deprivation / time change extremely well. I think everybody was really in the zone. I think they really brought their A game. The only reason I say I don't know about Spell Shock because it's not really something we talked about over the weekend. He may have felt really tired and he just didn't say anything. But everyone else I talked to, all the rest of the 4 of us, all said that they were doing just fine during play. But yeah, it's definitely a little culture shock when, like, you know, your normal. I remember Jeremy woke up in the middle of the night, ate a bunch of candy bars or something.
Oh yeah,
was it granola bars?
Yeah,
Jamie, he woke up in
bars.
the middle of the night. I get up in the morning, I walk past his bed, I'm like, and there's just a pile of, like, granola bar wrappers on the ground, like a bunch of them. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
It was dinner time.
I was like, I woke up, it was dinner time, I was so hungry. I just ate a bunch of granola bars.
Sweat, full of sweat. Fucking crazy.
It was really weird. I kept waking up, because I have a really good internal clock. And so normally I wake up at 10 every day. And so I wake up at 10. Well, 10 is now 1. And so I wake up. I'm like, oh yeah, it's time to go up. So twice, 2 days in a row, I woke up at 1 a.m. and groggily looked at my phone. I was like, oh yeah, it's fucking 10 a.m. And so I walk into the bathroom, brush my teeth, take a shower, walk back out and go, oh, it's 1:30 in the morning. I guess I'll go back to sleep now. That didn't work. So I just stay up for the rest of the time.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
The first night, I woke up at 1:30, brushed my teeth, took a shower, realized it was 2 a.m. I'm like, yeah, this is weird. I thought it was 7. Oops. I guess I'll go. So I just go downstairs and I start working on matchups.
This kind of follows along. We had another question. Any tips for managing the time difference? Anybody try something and it worked?
I tried not sleeping for 3 days and then sleeping all at once. That did not work at all. I only slept 2 hours. So,
Aaron, you're a world traveler. You've been across the pond a couple times. Any tricks?
Yeah, I fucking hate it.
Yeah,
but you have to try to stay awake as long as possible
so
when you're there. So
you
can't because your body wants to crash. If you crash at 7 at night, you will get up at midnight and you can't get back to sleep. So you have to stay up till 11. That forces your body, and it'll crash for 6 hours then, and you'll actually wake up when you're supposed to. It's been a long time since I've been able to do that. I just cannot force my body to stay up. So I got up. I slept through the first night, and after that, I got 1 hour of sleep the next night, and it was just bad. The whole time I was completely off sleep schedule.
So do you think it would?
I mean, I think I did just fine in the games. I only made one mistake. It was in Pat's game, actual cheating mistake. When he said something like, okay, I'm attacking you, 5 dice. And so I was like, okay, I grabbed 5 dice and I rolled them.
Yeah.
And then afterwards,
I saw that.
You have an illegal amount of dice. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, well, stop fucking telling me how many dice to roll.
You have an illegal amount of dice.
That's exactly what he said. It's you rolled an illegal amount of dice. I'm like, oh, yes, I did. Well, stop telling me numbers, because I'm just going to use those numbers you tell me to roll.
I kept looking over at your game versus Pat, and I was just like, I have no idea what's happening. And I didn't know if it was because I was too tired or because I just wasn't understanding the game state. And it wasn't until after the round you told me you made him deploy sideways that I was like, oh, I thought you guys were playing intrusions, not gamma. It's so weird.
Yeah, that would be a really strange thing to walk up to a table.
I was trying to understand, because it was like on an F you can't tell, right? There's technically it's oblong, but it's hard to notice in in a blank space. And so it was like, what is happening? It was so weird.
I can't believe.
And then all of their models are lumped on one side. I'm like, why did you go refuse flank on intrusions? That doesn't make any sense. I was like, and then he told me, I was like, oh. Now I understand. You're just an idiot, and you made your opponent play sideways.
Ouch, that wasn't exactly my takeaway.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, nobody should be allowed to play sideways. It's dumb. That's the most Brent Simon thing ever.
All right.
I'm leaving the cast right now.
I mean, he did try and make everyone play sideways.
I explained why I did it, right? Not to be
No.
but...
You had a strategy. It was fine. I don't think you should be allowed to do it.
Well,
and it's not because it's like it's just annoying.
I fully agree. I started off my
I
comment
know.
that way, but
Yeah, no. When the TO tells you can do it, it's now his fault, not yours. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying in general.
All right. Jeremy, do you have any travel tips? Wear wet socks when you go to bed.
Oh,
God.
That kind of stuff.
Make fists with your toes.
Yeah. Anything like that,
Arrive
Jeremy?
at your airport very early.
Oh God, no.
Don't check bags.
Yeah, do not check bags. I definitely.
Don't lose your passport.
You need to go earlier. You need to go several days early, I think.
That's what I was going to ask Aaron.
yes. If I do it
would
again, at least 3 days early.
Damn.
Wow.
Because I'm just following the pattern, because you said you slept okay the first night, but then you only got like 1 hour sleep the next 2 nights?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have made it worse?
No, so if you're not playing all day, then you can, I could have forced myself to go out to dinner at 7 o'clock on night 2 instead of, like, I crashed hard at like 9. When you guys went out, like, I crashed hard at 9 and woke up at 2. And then I was up
out.
Saturday night. You guys went out to the...
Oh, you mean Sunday night, after the tournament was over. We went to the pub.
Yeah, whatever. You went out to the pub and I crashed hard because I couldn't stay awake. And instead of sleeping through the night, I was, again, asleep at 9, up at 2. And I was just awake from 2 until 7. Which made for a hellacious, 40-hour trip back through airports and driving. Like, you saw me in the car, I was dead.
Yeah, you were a zombie.
So, again, I'm basing this off of my trip to Spain a month prior, where I got there a week before. Sorry, I got there 4 days before the Blow Bowl tournament started, just hanging out with the family and
sightseeing and stuff. Yeah.
And, like, I could go out to dinner at 8, and I'm going to force myself to stay awake to eat dinner. I get back at 10, and now I crash, as opposed to doing it early. So, I really do think going several days earlier will give you the flexibility to get on a better sleep schedule.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big question. Feel free to just tell me no. We refuse to answer. But Nigel asks, if there was another WTC next weekend, but you had the ability to remake your teams, would you remake teams, knowing how it all shook out?
Little do you know, this was the only topic in the car ride on the way. So, no, but I have some major takeaways. Can you not delete the question? Can you leave it there?
Sure.
Thank you. I think it's pretty obvious personally what we do. So Aaron didn't feel comfortable with Guardians. It's Aaron England. So last minute he switched to Midnight Suns. I always say that. Midnight Suns. And that left us in kind of a void because we didn't really want anybody else to change affiliations. But I support his thing. You don't want to go with something you don't feel comfortable with. So I think he should have played Midnight Suns. But I think in hindsight, obviously, we would have had Jeremy probably switch to Guardians. Just because of the natural fit on the team. We had nobody using CGR at the time. Malekith had just been nerfed. But Jeremy was so practiced with his list, I don't even think we really considered that in live time. But I don't know, Jeremy, would you have wanted to switch to Guardians? We talked about that as like a theory, but would that be something you would have been interested in? Like Malekith just got nerfed, CGR was open, all the Guardians models are still available.
I would have had to have seen it now. I mean, hindsight and all, I definitely should have.
Yeah.
But proposing it before I would have had to try it, you know what I mean? I would have tried it.
Yeah.
I could be convinced, but at the time I don't think I was convinced that the nerf hurt Malekith as bad as it did. But now I'm certainly, yeah, it's not where it was.
Well, yeah, because the big problem was our plan initially was to put you in all the big guys, and they nerfed him primarily versus other big guys. And so it put your primary leader into a definite secondary position. And so while Red Skull 1 is fine, I think it's a good list. It's just different when you're planning on playing big guys, because the whole point of the Red Skull list was kind of to go wider. Mm-hmm. And so then you're going wider versus tall guys, which is normally a bad thing. And so it's just a really weird spot. I mean, I know everyone was scrambling, so I'm not like making excuses or anything. But and I like I said, I don't think in the moment we even considered it. I don't think anyone ever even brought it up. But in hindsight, looking at like what the best list still on the board was, as soon as Aaron switches to Midnight Suns, I think somebody needed to move to Guardians
100%
because they're so strong. And so and obviously there's no practice time, but like in a vacuum, what was the right decision? I think the right decision was Guardians. Now also we probably could have collectively cut the Wakandan models from our teams and thrown a Wakandan player in, and that would have been fine. And then, Aaron England playing Wakandans instead of Midnight Suns would have been on the board, or having like a splash could have been there. And so like there's a lot of stuff we could have done. And it was just like, because it all happened in like 2 weeks, it was just kind of harsh. And I know a lot of people are in that space. Like I talked to Sooner a bunch, and Sooner was like, yeah, there's like 6 or 7 changes we would have made. Omnis said the same thing. There's a bunch of changes they would make if they just had like 1 more week of practice with the update. And so I think the issue was more of, it was just such short notice. Like most people, it's like 2 weeks before list lock. Not everyone's even free to do playtesting during that 2 weeks, because like we got an international trip like in a few weeks. Like everyone's got stuff going on. So all of a sudden you had to go grind games, figure out stuff, playtest changes, and it was like, talk to your teammates about what they can sacrifice to make your list better. And like, it was just, too much all at once. But yeah, in hindsight, I think Guardians was the easy answer, and Wakanda is probably the not so easy answer that we wouldn't have thought of.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like upset at the list we took. I think it was fine.
No, like we've talked about before, like my games could have like legitimately, I could have won all of them. Like there's no reason that certainly could have came out differently. Now our score wouldn't have came out differently because we already looked at that. Like my games ended up being non-games for all of them because of how our wins and losses went. But it would have been like, oh, okay, we made the right choices, and it's like, well, it's a 50-50 shot anyway. But Guardians would have been a better choice for the models I had and the quality of attacks and stuff, and also the tactics cards needed to be changed as well. Like just for the quality of attacks that need to be done.
I think 3 of our rounds, or 2 of our losses, 1 of our wins, could have easily gone either direction. Even though the 1 and 4 on the losses, like there are several things that happened that were just like really close matchups, or like losing priority in the X-Men mirror is like such an uphill battle. And it's like we won 1 of them, and I think we lost 2. Can't remember exactly the fallout, but I know Perrin played the mirror several times. I know he won basically every game he won prio, and he lost every game he lost prio. And it's just like kind of what you expect. Yeah, like one team's going to go up 4-1, and that's just harsh. It's hard to come back from. But yeah, what's next?
All right. Your last question is actually from me. Are you guys planning on doing it again next year? After having done it, would you get up and do it again?
I don't know if we can answer this, can we?
Sure.
Okay. Aaron, you go first.
Sure. So, I don't know if anyone's listened to the episode with the coaches talking about it. The U.S. committee, or lack thereof, has no idea how teams will be selected next year. It'll either be first come, first serve like it was this year, or there might be some sort of Illuminati that gets formed to decide who gets to go with some hopefully non-nefarious process. So I don't know if we would have the opportunity to go, first of all. However,
I think it's desire.
If we could, I am right now on the fence. If I had to decide right now, I don't know.
Would you say it's like 51% want to go?
I would not indeed say that. You might say that, but I wouldn't.
I would say that.
Okay.
I would say he's 51%.
Okay. So I looked at it as $1,500 for me, and plus I was paying for 2, so it cost me $3,000 to go play 5 games of Marvel. I had a great time. I would do it in a heartbeat if it was paid for, right? But at some point, I'm not made of money. Like, I am retired doing nothing, which also does not bring in a lot of money. So, financially speaking, it was a hard pill. I definitely wanted to do it once, kind of a bucket list. I would consider doing it again, but would really have to look at my finances to see if I could afford it.
Okay. Jeremy?
Okay.
I would be 100% in. those are the kind of things that I enjoy. And I know that it's a limited kind of thing. Like there'll be a time where I don't want to do it anymore. But for now, it is something that I really enjoyed. So as long as I enjoy doing my hobbies and I want to do them and I can afford them, because I'm not retired and I do have an income, and like it's not a big deal. So yeah, I would be 100% in. And again, depending on the Illuminati and all of that, it's its own thing. So if the option comes, I would definitely be in.
Yes, I would also like to go again. Like I said, I've been there before. It's pretty much exactly what I expected, which meant it was an absolute great time. I enjoyed the prep, obviously more than anybody else on the team. I enjoy everything about it. Which is like kind of weird. I think you're not supposed to like everything about it, but I love everything about it. My least favorite part is being in the weird location that most people love. Like, normally we went to Copenhagen. Everybody's like, what did you do in Copenhagen? I was like, I went to the WTC. And they're like, yeah, but what did you do? I was like, I went to the WTC. He's like, but where did you go see? I was like, I didn't leave the hotel. And so that's the weird part for me. I don't really care about sightseeing. I did have fun in the one place we went, but that was because there was something to do there that I wanted to do. But no, I had a super, super fun time. I would love to go again. My current plan is to try and make that happen actively, but we'll see what happens.
Cool. That's exciting. That's all the bag of questions.
I think there's one more question. What? Did you delete the other question?
Oh no, my other question isn't really important.
You should ask it.
Oh. When do they announce next year's location and time? Is it already done?
They already have, Parker. It's happening in Copenhagen next year.
Ah, okay.
They're splitting it off from the War Machine WTC, and it's going to be its own freestanding event.
Oh, so it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. I thought it was the same group of people organizing. The
so I believe Gil organized both this year, but the War Machine one travels around. And I believe they pick a local person to host it. And so basically they run the event, but the event is like basically owned by a group of people. And so it like moves around, and they just have a local person set everything up and run the event. And so it's like a traveling tournament. And Gil decided to like staple on the MCP side on top of it. And now he's like in charge of the MCP side. So it's split off on its own now. That's my understanding. I'm not sure that's correct, but that's my understanding.
So as far as we know, it might be a Copenhagen event for the foreseeable future.
I believe the current plan is for it to be Copenhagen for the indefinite future until there's a reason for it to not be.
Okay.
Which, personally, I'm fine with. It is cool to travel around different places, but also, like, knowing in advance, it's like, okay, well, I can just, like, plan now. Like, I could get an Airbnb in the area for, like, the week before and just plan that out. Also, it's a really nice travel hub. And, you know, in general, Denmark's a nice place, so there's no real negative to it other than it's not moving around.
Nice. That was the last question.
Yep. Cool. So that's going to wrap up news. Let's move into currently playing.
Oh my god.
Parker, what are you currently playing? Jeremy just died.
Jesus. Oh. That was news. That's
I'm a
good.
Bastard.
That's good stuff.
I have one piece of news-ish information.
Oh, okay, let's
in
do
what
that.
used to be our from the forums segment. AMG recently released a forums ruling clarifying joint effort. It's a tactics card that says for the next attack, you get +2 dice for each attack that
Friendly model.
+2 dice for each friendly model in the next attacks you make. So bottom line, they use singular and then plural in the same clause, and so people were confused. Turns out they've clarified. Go ahead.
It's reverse A-Force assemble, for people wondering. For each of your models within 2 of the target, you add 2 dice. But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. They've clarified that it works for all beams and area attacks. So
all attacks generated by them.
Corrects.
So if you use joint effort with a beam, all of the attacks,
would
all the
benefit
attacks
from
that have somebody else within one will get
The
dice.
Current excitement is that you can use it on Sonic Annihilator, which is the fucking Claw AoE 5 card. And then everyone that's near one of your allies adds 2 dice to the attack roll.
For each of your allies. I mean,
for
you could
each
add,
of the attack,
add 4 to this guy, add 2 to that guy. Add
Right,
2 to
but
that
you
guy.
do like Devil's Deliverance, for example, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm within range 2 of these 4 people, and then also I've got an ally by me, and so he's also within 2 of all of them. And you're just like, oh no. And so it's like a 14 die AoE.
You don't count yourself, it's other allies.
Right.
But yes, you are correct.
So currently my favorite with it is Thor with God of Thunder, because they lowered the cost on God of Thunder, and it's got a charge. He can charge in and then do it. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, because it's like suddenly a really good attack when you can add 4 dice to it.
I'll give
clearly, clearly dumb, but go ahead.
I don't know if it's dumb. It is not the way I expected it to be ruled. I will withhold judgment until I see it.
I think it's objectively a bad ruling based on the wording of the card. This is another example of them trying to be so far up their own goddamn assholes that they can't look at something and call it what it is.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid. Like, every other card or ability in the entire game that does what they just said this card does has a different wording. And the reason it has a different wording is because it doesn't work that way. It's just stupid. It's just ignorant bullshit. So they're going to have to errata the card now to make it do that.
That which is what they said.
Which is what they said they're doing.
Errata
We're going to make a ruling which is going to cause an errata because that's not what it does. And so if they were talk to the devs and the devs were like, oh, we meant for it to do this. And then the rules forum guys are like, well, then you need to change the card because that's not how it works. They said, okay, we will. And then that's fine. But somebody fucked up.
One of the posts was
whoever
from
that person is,
an AMG employee, not just a dev or not just a moderator.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, my spicy sauce is to play Red Skull anything with Victory Assured, top of 2 on an E, and just
take
roll
5 damage, do a 16 die beam.
Yep.
Yeah. Goodbye, idiots.
And the spicy thing is, he provides his own +2 with the grunts, so they just double move. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's probably not good, but I'm gonna do it.
I think it's good.
Okay. Anyway, I wanted to throw that in there. Quasi news.
The other easy one is Cyclops, because Cyclops can field marshal field leader somebody into position and then do a beam 5.
Sure, but that's going to take 6 power, right? It costs 3 to play the card, 3 to field leader. Like Red Skull has this online, top of 2, nothing else required.
No, yeah, he's solo artist.
Twiddle. Yeah.
He's like Rihanna. He went solo. He can do it.
Yeah.
So you're saying because Red Skull 2 gets the grunt gives +2 to 2 of the dice
to everyone that the grunts are within 2 of.
Right.
So pretend you're on a gamma, like people are between the 2 gamma points.
Mm-hmm.
So the grunts just double move on turn 2 to be within 2 of his entire team.
Mm-hmm.
Red Skull moves forward and does at that point with nothing else a 13 dice beam against the entire enemy team.
And by entire enemy team, he means anyone who fits under a 3-inch stick.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's totally right. It's awesome. So if you play Researcher with Hydra, you're just like, eat shit, dickheads. The funny thing is on the last one, you kick in Mordo, and then it's a 15 dice beam, and then you daze Red Skull. And if you actually get close enough to them, on the next turn, you can play Occult Research and stagger everyone that's next to you. And then you play, Cosmic Obliteration to remove the stagger and apply negative effects like Incinerate to all of those people. And then do it all fucking again with 3 actions. See? It's like, just play all your tactics cards and kill everybody. It's like a one-man kung fu SWAT team. He can't be stopped.
You sold me at kung fu.
Hide your children.
Hide your children, hide your wives. They're fucking killing everybody.
Killing everybody. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, so that's from the forums this week. Is AMG / the rules mods are fucking it all up again. All right, moving on. Currently playing. Parker, what are you playing?
Oh my gosh, we actually are going to talk some more? Okay.
Yes, okay. Fucking answer the question so we can move on.
I played some C3 games. It works, but it wasn't super exciting or intriguing for me. Aaron's point of the last podcast is 100% apt. After playing a couple games with him, you really have to think about power on models at the start of activation. And the takeaway I gained from it is models like Gamora, actually, who just have things baked in that you don't have to spend power to activate to make with the wilds pop, actually have a little bit more attraction than a model like Wolverine. Wolverine makes sense because he's in Avengers and he has great value. It's huge value, right? It's the pinnacle of value with flipping a wild. But he has to spend 2 power to do it, and so he needs 3 power to get the full combo with Steve's leadership. So the fact that Gamora just gets it from starting just from scratch is pretty cool. So I'm staring at things like that with him, but still not super excited about Steve 3. Although one of the games I played with him was against CGR, so I finally have played against CGR. I won, and it was really close until CGR was his only model left, and then I just scored all the points because that's what happens when you only have CGR left.
Unless you're Jeremy, and then your guy rolls too low and starts contesting, and it's a whole fucking new nightmare situation.
That's true. I was
that
playing...
happened to him twice. He's just like, I got this game in the bag, and then, but it's like researcher Mayor Fisk, and then the guy bricks the roll, starts contesting with a healthy model, and scores 6 points in 1 turn. He's like, terrible.
Yep.
It's like, are you fucking shitting me? And then the next turn he rolls 0 again and gets to keep doing it.
I will say this, and I don't know. At least it worked this time. When I saw the CGR was a possibility, everyone in the list was an offensive model. I took the most supporting model was Steve 3, and he is more of an offensive model, and that worked pretty well because he felt like he had to kill everything all the time, and he didn't kill enough things every turn with CGR, and so eventually I killed his whole list around him, and there wasn't much he could do about it. So that was something that worked against CGR that time at least. But I'm going to go with a goofy Hydra concept soon. Even though Steve 3 was not bad, he wasn't super inspiring. I'm excited to try a Hydra thing tomorrow.
Alrighty. Can you go ahead and read what Jeremy's playing for me?
Jeremy's playing butts and/or holes ass to mouth. I don't know what that means.
Never go ass to mouth.
Never go ass to mouth.
Sometimes.
Jeremy, what are you playing?
Depends if you're A or B.
We've all talked about how we're all changing lists after playing 100 games with our WTC list. So, what do you have a plan on what you're moving to? Or are you just gonna see how you're feeling tomorrow?
Honestly, I've been thinking a lot about Brotherhood. I like a lot of those models, and I haven't touched any Brotherhood models in a very long time. So,
yeah,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with Juggernaut. There's nothing wrong with Apex. Mystique is the fucking bomb. I think that there's a lot of good stuff there, and I'm ready.
He hasn't touched Brotherhood models in a long time, yet played Mystique in the WTC.
She's not Brotherhood.
She's not Brotherhood.
She's Cabal.
She is
for
Cabal
life.
I'll give you that.
For life!
Cool. I hope you have fun with Brotherhood. They're super fun. Aaron?
I am currently playing Hydra and Wakanda. Should be done with Hydra in about tomorrow. And then moving on to Wakanda as a quasi-serious list, and something to finish the last 7 models I have on my yearly quest.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that recap episode, so we'll see. Are we doing it as soon as you finish the quest, or are we waiting for a full year?
It's up to you.
Well, it's kind of up to you.
I'll let you know.
Okay. Finally, I am switching affiliations as well. I'm going to start playing Wizards again. I'm actually pretty pumped. I finally built a list I don't hate, and I'm gonna jam it. I assembled the final rock to go into the pile of rocks. I've got Ultron the Metal Tyrant ready to go, and I'm gonna jam some games. Parker, I'm playing your favorite model, MODOK 2.
Ooh, MODOK 2 in Convocation feels awesome. I've done it.
I also have Cable currently in the roster, so you can throw him up to 7 defense dice counting blanks on Book's turn. And it's just like, why? Though?
I am the ultimate mind martial artist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the mindful artist, I guess.
Yeah, master of the mental arts.
Yes, he's so awesome.
The other fun thing is with new Ultron, he gets to sack to the grunts that explode, and when they die, it resets books. So I'm pretty happy with what's going on here.
Yeah.
I want to see my opponent just get really pissed off.
You want to see him really pissed off is when you get enough power on Strange 2 to scalpel MODOK like across the board, and he's standing next to stuff. You're like, ugh, I hate this. Yeah,
I think I'm actually going to end up scalpeling Ultron more often, but we'll see.
I thought New Ultron had movement tech. Am I cray?
I thought he did too. I must have misread his card, or I just in the stream of the 13 models we read, I just mixed up something. I thought he had a place ability too, but I was wrong. He does not. He has a bow. He's got helmet.
Oh, that's right. He
counts wilds as doubles on Mystic Defense, and he's got a size 4 throw, and his spender automatically throws up to size 4 as well, and has explosive force, and so you can throw somebody. And then also, you can throw somebody and then explosive force everyone away, which is not. I don't think that exists anywhere in the game, does it, Aaron? Because Blob doesn't do that. He only explosive forces. Oh no, I guess it's about the same. Yeah, because he has the throw on the Frog Splash, right?
It's a push, not a throw.
It's just explosive force. So he throws and has explosive force.
Who's that?
Yeah,
New
Metal
Ultron.
Titan.
Before damage on his spender, he throws you and then has wild explosive force. So if you have somebody blocking the push, you can throw them out and then push everybody, which is pretty cute. But also, so you can throw a size 4 enemy, then throw a size 4 piece of terrain, and then bow somebody else, and then you have an AoE push on the spender as well. He just has crazy map board manipulation, for considering that he's a beater. And then also MODOK and him both have helmets, so they can't be pushed or advanced by Mystic or superpowers. And so it gives you nice anchor models that are really tough to put on the front line. And then because MODOK can spend other people's power, you got Wong and Mordo in the list. And then for the grunts, when the grunts are attacking, Mordo can kick in extra dice on their thing and it damages them, which is good for you because you want them to die anyway.
Right.
And so it's actually pretty cute. I actually like a lot of the combos.
MODOK has a lot of synergy across the list. Like a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, fun times. I plan on playing this tomorrow. Cool. That's all I have for today. Do you guys have anything else you want to chat about?
I just want to say, and I put this on the Discord, that I am very proud of you guys. I was very, very happy with your guys' performance. As saying, I couldn't be there or own any of it, but I was just happy that I was happy to be part of the thing that you guys were repping there, even a little bit. I was very proud of you guys. I posted as much as soon as your last round was over, but thank you for repping Infamous. I think you guys did great.
Yep. Super fun time. I think we are pretty proud of how we did. So
I think that and I didn't see how everyone else's games went, but I kind of know the demeanor of everybody. My goal was to make sure that everyone that I played walked away and thought, that was a good game, cool guy, I'd play again, represented kind of, the podcast and the people and, United States, all that stuff well. And I think that we all did that really well. I know Aaron had a couple games where he might have got tilted, Aaron England. But I think everyone else, I'm not sure exactly how those went, but it seemed like everyone else did pretty good. And that made me very happy. Because I know sweaty tabletop gamers can kind of come across a certain way, but this event was not like that at all. Everyone came and represented very, very well.
Everyone was super positive.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
People don't normally like me.
Agreed.
I mean, you're throwing fucking opponent, shields.
My last opponent liked me enough to trade me my Infamous jersey for his homoerotic picture of Storm and Logan.
It's overtly masculinized homosexual art. Yeah.
Yes.
You do draw a certain crowd.
One of those.
You both draw a certain crowd.
Which my wife said I'm not allowed to wear anywhere but to the geekery. And I said, cool, every Thursday.
Oh, God. We'll never see it because you're going to be wearing a hoodie the whole time.
Sleeveless.
Might have to change how I roll.
A very deep V.
The painting was a gift, Todd. I'm keeping it.
I'm keeping it. Oh, my God.
But yeah, man. I really like it. I'm not ragging on you.
I think we did awesome. I'm really just couldn't have been better.
Yep. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. We'll talk a little bit more about WTC in the future, but not too much. So hopefully you enjoyed the wrap up. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And Mr. 49%.
And you've just listened to The Gang Goes 3 and 2.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
And we're back.
Literally, from way
Literally
across
back.
the Atlantic, you done came back. I half expected
I
your
was
claps
only-
to be a couple time zones behind.
Yeah, I know, right? Actually, I very much felt my claps were off.
My claps were spot on, but that makes sense. I went fucking nowhere.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I know how they're feeling. So, Parker, how are you feeling?
Oh man, I am so happy. I decided to take tomorrow off from work because you guys have definitely done enough. I'm speaking to a choir here. You guys have done enough. But since you were gone, I just went also just accelerator down just on, dad and job stuff. But I earned a day off by just going really hard. So I decided to take a day off tomorrow so that I could play more games. I picked Thursday so we can go to the game shop and play some more MCP.
Nice.
I've got hot ideas, hot off the press.
You heard it here first, folks. Parker's going to be at the game store at 11 a.m. when they open.
I could be. I don't think anyone else is going to be there to play, but I could be.
It's like there will be two people there to play.
Oh, really, Aaron? You're going to be
At
there that
least.
early? I thought you'd take at least a little time off, but you're raring to go again. I am super excited.
Perrin and I will be at Big Biscuit at 10:25.
Man, oh man.
Good lord.
Yeah, and Parker will be there, or he will be square. And everyone knows that the one thing Parker doesn't like to be is a square.
I actually have never been to the Big Biscuit, and I've lived here now for 13 years, and I've never been in that place.
It's nothing special. It's fine.
You are
It's
welcome
decent
to
breakfast.
find out what decent breakfast tastes like at 12:20 or 10:25 tomorrow morning.
Mm.
I like the cut of your jib.
All right. We made it back. Nobody even died.
Barely.
I thought there was like a 1% chance we would die.
Which is like crossing the Atlantic?
Yeah, just in general. Like, I think about 1 in 100 people die.
No.
Eating
It's
unpasteurized food.
It's so much smaller than that. Insanely smaller than that.
How the smallest amount of a percent is 1.
That's not true. The smallest amount you could go is 1.
Can't go lower than 1.
I'm pretty
How
sure.
would that even work?
I'm pretty sure if you rounded to the nearest whole number, the nearest whole number is probably 0. To the likelihood of you dying on a transatlantic plane flight.
Oh no, not just on the plane. Just because we had to travel over the plane twice. Also, be in Europe for like several days.
Oh, I don't think
Any of those things could be.
lots
fatal,
of people
let's
be
honest.
in Europe. I think it's something.
Yeah, but a lot of them die. Think about it. Think about how many people in Europe die.
of old age.
Most of the people who have ever lived in Europe have died.
That is true. The great majority of people insanely great majority of people who lived in Europe have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you think about it like that, like we were lucky.
Yeah, you really squeaked by the skin of your teeth when you think.
Aaron
about it.
would call that 51%.
Yeah. I am so excited to hear all about it. Do you guys feel like? I guess my first question is: do you feel like you can even start having the conversation now? Is it too fresh and too raw, or have you had sufficient time to reflect?
What conversation are you talking about? Is there some closet action happening? Like, what the fuck's going on? Nobody prepped me for this intervention that's apparently happening.
There's no intervention. What I'm saying is, oftentimes, maybe I'm speaking for myself. When I go on a vacation, I don't actually fully appreciate the whole time I had, while I'm still, detoxing from the effort of the vacation itself. Right? If you guys are still hip deep on just trying to regain your capital, maybe just have a difficult time, telling the tale.
Well,
is my question.
As a seasoned veteran of the World Team Championships, I would say personally that, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear your excitement, is my point. I want to live vicariously through your experience. And if your experience is, oh my god, I'm so tired, it'll be difficult to get excited about doing it myself.
I was very tired Saturday night. That was the most tired I had been in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't seem super into the ramble. Do you want to just get started?
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited just to get started.
I'm ready to get started.
Unless there's some random bullshit you guys would like check about, and I'm totally open to that.
No, I'm ready to go. I'm just,
Ready.
I don't have much other than the meat of the deal.
Jeremy's.
I mean,
Jeremy's
should we?
90% sleep.
But you're ready for the meat of the deal, right? Because if we don't have cock gobbling Jeremy, I don't want to do this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, as I stated in the post earlier, I've got a lot to say.
Okay, good. That's all I need to hear.
All right. So let's get started. Let me get a timestamp. Oh my god, there's so many questions to scroll past. That was fun. I'm surprised you two aren't just dragging ass tired at this point.
I had a nap.
You had a nap.
I had like a 15-minute nap.
We're going to do movies next time for anyone listening at home. So hopefully if you're staying for the movies, you're not upset. But we need to cut some time. So,
It's funny. I think of all the times people have just flared in instant outrage from seeing the lists, I'm really interested to see if they flare in even greater outrage without a list. If this is, or if it'll be nothing. If it'll just be not even.
You should make something up just out of just make up bullshit.
I should actually test people, and what I might test is I'll leave our names on there, see if just people vote a certain way based on names.
Who did you think selected the movies you would have liked the most?
Oh God.
That's a good one. That requires us to say nothing. I like that.
I'll just put Aaron, Brandon, Jeremy Parker, and they'll just be asterisk and I want you to vote for who you think had the best one, and then afterwards we'll vote.
Who will have the best ones next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that a lot. Please put that.
I'm gonna win.
The best movies next week will be chosen by.
I have the post.
And if you were wrong, you were an idiot.
Yeah.
It is true, Brandon, that I thought about this the other day when I was listening to the last podcast. I was like, Brandon has the most, I don't know how your favorite movies are also just the top 10 most popular movies of all time. I think it's interesting.
He is the co-founder of the Luddite Society that votes on our Discord.
Yeah.
The Luddite Society.
Do you know how hard it is to be active enough to actually convince you guys that half of these people in the Discord are real people? I have to type so many random posts that you guys don't think these are just bot accounts.
That's why you always tell us you don't pay attention to the... Yeah,
I was going to say, I wish I could know that's true, but I know
because I'm logged in as the wrong person, so I don't see it. I think we should do a WTC wrap-up episode with the team and do just random talks and stuff with England and Perrin.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Say the word, I'll GTFO.
No, not tonight. I mean, fucking Perrin's asleep probably. So
no, I didn't mean now. I meant just, or rather,
we'll
say the
do
word.
It on it. We'll do it on a separate time.
Just tell me.
It won't be as podcast time.
Oh, okay. Or we could do it like that one time when I walked up and it's like, "Oh, podcast, what about?" And you're like, "Not for you."
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
let's clear the room except for you, and that guy over there. And since Parker looks around, I was like,
"Oh,
what the fuck?" It's like, he's not getting it.
Or maybe next year you could demonstrate the capability required to get invited to go on a team, Parker.
That's true.
I'll tell you exactly what I told Perrin and Aaron England is I'll send you the link to fill out the application for next year. It's going to be great. Parker, did you avail yourself of all of the amazing WTC content while we were gone?
I did not listen to all of those. No,
Did you listen to any of them?
I started listening to the first one. I didn't get to finish it.
I could tell how much you cared. It's really coming through in the effort level.
While I was away, I kind of cut myself off from social media.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out my grandpa was diagnosed with Viagra addiction. I mean, we're all taking it kind of hard, but no one's taking it harder than Grandma.
I knew where that was going.
Jeremy, did you care for half a second, or did you see it?
Half a second I cared. But then again, I was like, is Aaron sharing some sort of personal information? And then I was like, this is
that's how I knew it was
this is a joke.
Jeremy, why is the chef so mean?
Don't know.
Because she beats the eggs and whips the cream.
Yeah, that one was... I couldn't figure out which beating and whipping and whatnot you were coming up with. Something. All right. Well, we need to wrap this up because some of us gotta get up.
Alrighty. Cool. Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.